This week in league, the entire country of New Zealand declared rugby league kryptonite as the Tamworth Warriors become a competition powerhouse.
The Cronulla Sharks dispel all rumours of performance enhancement drug culture in 80 minutes against the West Tigers.
Ivan Cleary sends a message to Matt Burton, less booting sluts and more booting drop goals next off-season.
Plus, we look at all the action from round 3 of the 2020 NRL season.
All and more this week in league. Welcome to episode 353 of This Week in League. I'm Nate.
And I'm Jay.
How you doing, sir?
Well, seeing as I have an undefeated season, I'm doing fucking remarkably.
Yes, undefeated by virtue of Edric having hands like feet.
Yes, and also having shins like head-seeking fucking missiles.
Yeah, and Matt Burton having feet like fucking flippers, I guess.
Yeah, true. But undefeated.
Yeah. Asterisk.
No fucking asterisk. We are undefeated. There is no need for an asterisk. We have not had a defeat.
Yeah, till this week. So, first things up front, though, welcome to new listeners of the show, because I noticed that Apple Podcasts are casting a spotlight on NRL podcasts this week. At the moment, I don't know what the deal is with it, but they've put like a featured section for NRL podcasts, and they put us in pole position in front of Gus. So let me just say welcome, enjoy yourselves, and we hope you stick around. And I'd
also like to say welcome to Gus, who obviously listens to his betters to try.
I don't know. He says some dumb shit, and he's still saying that shit.
Yeah.
Gus only listens to he listens to a certain podcast which is produced by Channel 9 and it's delivered to him with his paycheck. and perhaps it's a condition of his employment.
Well, fucking Gus, hurry up and listen and throw off your corporate shackles.
Yeah, he'll listen all right, and then he'll block us on iTunes, just like on social media. But yeah, as the second rugby league podcast ever, and the longest running one by a long margin, got an amazing community. So yeah, be a part of it. Secondly, I would like to take the opportunity to wish James W. a very happy birthday. He has been a very long-term listener of the show, frequent contributor across all the social media channels over the years from the UK. So hope you're having a wonderful day eating your unimaginative cuisine washed down by warm beers, and end your day off with a nice warm mug of Bovril and taking a bath.
Like, do they have birthday cakes in England? I'm struggling to think of anything in that country that could bring people joy. So I'm sort of thinking that you'd have...
Trying to think myself. Had a kind of a time
and
when
even
I was
the
there.
name, like, like a birthday cake is, it just, like, you know, I feel happy just saying it.
Yeah.
You know, what's it called? Like, it's your...
Like your name day.
It's your birth anniversary porridge.
Yeah.
Fucking grey and dismal and...
Yeah, in conclusion, fuck England.
Yes.
But not you, James. Or, you know, well, you too. It's your birthday, so treat yourself. News this week. The first one that I have here to look at this week is this stuff about streaming, with the revelation today that the NRL will block Telstra from streaming rugby league matches from 2023 as the governing body attempts to strike a 5-year broadcast extension with Nine. So Telstra are the naming rights partner until 2022, which I guess is why they aren't bringing it forward to the next year. But the code argues that protecting the streaming rights will mark up its value when it returns to the negotiating table with Nine as early as next month. So, at the moment, they are prohibited from on-selling in the 2023 20 to 27 cycle at Foxtel.
Yep.
Under the new Foxtel contract, that the extension that they secured last week.
Yep.
And yeah, look, they're going to Foxtel. So what's going to happen is Foxtel is going to be streaming all the matches on KO and 9 is going to have their matches. But what they're saying is that with this, if 9 agrees to an extension until 2027, then all games will be available through Channel 9 and the 9 Now streaming app. And then Telstra customers like myself and like you as well, yeah. And then currently, we access we stream through the NRL app and we get it free as Telstra customers with Telstra Live Pass. Now, they're saying that competes directly with Channel 9's app 9 Now, and therefore, they removing Telstra's ability to do that will make it more valuable to they can charge 9 more money. Of course, 9's paying less money now anyway, and they want to bump them up by actually giving them more and allowing them to have more for the same or less, I suppose. It's pretty fucking like my initial reaction is obviously very negative to this development as someone who has vocally through this show over the last I don't know how many years, at least 3-4 seasons at least.
Yeah.
You pretty much watch games exclusively on the NRL app through the Telstra Live Pass. This is obviously it affects me and my enjoyment of watching games drastically because it means I'm going to have to put my hand in my pocket and pay some cunt service that I specifically did it because I didn't want to pay.
Yeah.
And I think what might happen is I'm not sure about this, but I feel like the Telstra, I think the live pass thing will still be happening, but Telstra won't be able to just throw it out for people. It'll be something you have to pay with the money probably going to, fucking KO or, someone. But that 9 Now app.
I would suggest no.
It doesn't, because the thing is the Telstra live pass thing is a benefit to Telstra customers, but if you're not a Telstra customer, you got to pay some sort of yearly subscription to that, don't you?
Yes, you do, to get NRL live.
Because that's actually through the NRL
that's it.
app, though, too.
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
not like the NRL app isn't going anywhere.
What it is at the moment, and there's a couple of different pieces to this. Right? Telstra are the technology partner to the NRL. If you notice, if you go to all of the clubs and their websites,
they're all
exactly the same
CMS,
and they're all run or maintained by Telstra.
Yeah, centrally, yeah.
That's it. Now, this is an interesting scenario, and it's one of those ones that I encourage people to actually have a look, have a deep dive into it, and then think about it a little bit before you make your snap judgments. And I'll refer you a little bit about what's happening in America at the moment. I don't know whether you've seen, but there's a few people that are out demonstrating in America. And also, funnily enough, in New Zealand. Big protests. No social distancing.
Well, I mean, they've defeated Corona, so they can.
Yeah, true.
They haven't opened their borders up. So I guess they can for now.
Now, there were people last week in America that were doing that very typical American thing and going, my freedoms.
Yeah.
My freedoms is hurting.
Yeah.
Because they were told, stay in the fucking house.
Yeah.
There's a pandemic.
And now they're telling people to stay in their fucking houses or they'll shoot them.
And, now those same people are going, well, there's a curfew, so y'all need to stay inside.
Yeah.
Because my freedoms mean that I'll stay inside. Because there's a curfew and being free means respecting government.
And part of freedoms is the police having the freedom to shoot anyone who doesn't get back inside.
Now, I don't remember voting for a disease, so that is not a reason to have no freedoms.
I heard that, I don't know if this is true, but I heard that they've, over the last week, they've had another spike, 19,000 new COVID cases.
Hell.
Fucking just
that country is just the fucking St. George Dragons of countries. There was a time, and there
was a glorious era.
Yeah,
they had a good run.
There were some black and white photos where they did some good shit. And there's a couple of guys with names that you sort of chuckle at now that were pretty fucking heroic. But now they're just a disease-ridden fucking rape fest. Fuck. So, to get back to the streaming.
Back to the real story.
a little while ago when there were signs that Nine and Fox wanted to curtail the NRL having its own independent streaming arm.
Yeah.
People were, and I'll add rightfully so, up in arms about that, saying that they shouldn't be given control of it, they shouldn't be allowed to dismantle it or to force it to close or to stop the NRL from investing in it. Because these are all the things that were in the news.
Yeah.
What actually happens here is that Foxtel purchase the rights from the NRL. They pay the NRL for the rights. They then on-sell those rights to Telstra.
Correct.
Now, there's a little bit of, internal fuckery because Telstra owns a certain percentage.
35%, whatever it is, yeah.
Still, ownership doesn't mean that you can shuffle money between entities. There still needs to be proper separation. But there would be favourable conditions, and there's obviously tax benefits for the expenses and so forth. So Foxtel are selling the rights to Telstra.
Mm-hmm.
Telstra can then do what they want with it.
Yeah, and they're choosing obviously to provide it as a value-added service for people who choose them as their telecommunications carrier. Yeah.
So what this does is allows the NRL to say, no. All they've done is banned Fox from selling it to Telstra.
Mm-hmm.
Telstra can then go to the NRL and say, well, we would like to bid for digital rights, and then if the NRL's smart, they'll take that as actual true competition. They now have Fox and Telstra and Nine. So if the NRL are smart about this is actually a good move, and it brings 3 negotiators to the table instead of the 2 that they've had previously. I'm not sure how strong the third would be, because they would technically in some aspect be negotiating against their own interest by competing with Fox. But it's actually a step towards, or on the surface at least, a step towards the NRL maintaining control of that. And if that means that it can get more money out of Nine rather than Fox getting money out of Telstra and the NRL missing out on the money for those streaming rights, then I can't be unhappy with that.
Yeah.
It will mean things like Channel 9 commentary teams.
I don't think that's necessarily the way. Because what's going to happen is they're not going to get more money. They're going to get more money under 2020 criteria. They're going to get more money, which I guarantee will be in combination with the rights for the free to air games. That combination will be less than what they were paying before. For both, they're going to get the digital. They're going to get the digital for less than free, compared to what they were paying up until this year.
Yeah, but you can't make a comparison between what they were paying up until this year and what they will do. You could make a comparison between what they would have done next time and what they will do with the digital in there.
Yeah, but as I was saying, I mean, like the cash was the cash, and what's going to happen is the NRL is going to end up with less cash from Channel 9, but Channel 9 is going to have the digital pie completely to themselves to do what they want. Now, as someone who has, I don't watch a lot of free-to-air television. However, having children who are into 2 TV shows that both happen to be on Channel 9 and ran back-to-back and currently into the second one now, fucking the Lego Masters show, into The Voice, I've got extensive experience watching, because because we don't watch it live. We usually watch it, some of it live, and then the kids have to go to bed, and then then watch the next day.
Yeah.
And so watching through that 9 Now app, and it is a fucking punish.
The app?
Yeah, it is. It'll boot you out. This is live. It's probably not as bad, especially in the case of not live, not watching TV as it is live, but live sport, for example. It probably won't be as bad because they're going to have to throw back from commercial when they have to throw back from commercial because the game is the game.
Yep.
So it'll probably be, more tolerable. If you want to watch them, if you want to, play catch-ups on games and things like that, get ready for a fucking bad time of 5 minutes of fucking ads every break and unskippable ads because it's
because it's commercial television.
And what if you miss the second half of a game? You say, I'll watch the first half. I'll go back tomorrow and I'll start at half time. No, you can, but you have to go wherever you fast forward through.
Yep.
You got to watch this fucking block of unskippable ads, and then you're like, oh fuck, I've got to go another 20 minutes. So you scroll forward, another block of unskippable ads. And when you're in the non-live version, when you're watching something on their schedule, then it's like you get like 3 ads in a row that are exactly the same ad. They just keep repeating it 5 times in a row. Like it's not a fucking it's not the premium service that you would be accustomed to as a Telstra customer using the Live Pass over the last couple of years. Let me tell you, and like you said, Channel 9 commentary teams and I guess it's going to probably be the same, except you're going to have because Channel 9 is not going to be calling every game anyway.
No,
so they're probably going to have to do something. The digital rights mean that they they get the Foxtel feed or whatever for those games, but
and that would be interesting. I'm just thinking of other.
It's just a lot of who fucking knows how it's going to work yet. But
again, I'm choosing to light a candle here, and
you're choosing to suck Volandi's dick like a fucking hooper.
Fuck, that's the worst thing I've ever been called.
Your hair's starting to fall out as we speak.
Like that's
it's like that. It's like that movie where that kind of Home Improvement where he turns into Santa Claus and he just starts. Or that one movie with The Rock where The Rock turns into you're just uncontrollable. Your hair's just starting to fall out. You're starting to get this cunty look to your face.
Yeah, no. That is the worst thing that I've ever been called. And I once went to a costume party as a person that didn't much care for Jews. And all night people were screaming out, "Hey, that person."
Yeah.
And this is worse than that.
Well,
but again, if it takes away the ability for Fox to on-sell the game,
yep,
and opens up the NRL to having a little bit more control or having value in the digital product, then that's a good thing.
I want them to know the value of the digital product.
Yes, and
I'm not convinced that they do.
I'm convinced Volandis does, because one thing that he seems to do is come out and say a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and then sort of gauge the response and tailor his next
knowing
move.
Full well that he's going to do something different.
Yeah.
Because he's figured out that saying a bunch of stuff placates the hordes for a little while.
Or in this case, gets them frothing up.
Yeah, so just wait and see how this one pans out. There's a little while to go yet.
Yeah, I mean, if the NRL actually know the value of and I'm not convinced they do, if they know the value of the digital and are able to extract full return on that value, then great.
Yeah.
But for a diminished service, get out of here.
The other thing is, as long as the NRL continues to have NRL Live, I'd happily pay for that. Mm-hmm. I get it for free now as a Telstra customer.
Well, it actually does say here that where the fuck is it? There's something about Channel 9 there's something about Channel 9 not being happy about the fact that that Telstra weren't obliged to charge a fee for it as well. So they're saying, okay, so if they're not charging a fee for it, then that's a preferred option for people to use and drives them away from our line now.
It's not that they're not charging a fee. It's Telstra are free to decide their own fucking cost model.
Yeah, exactly.
And how much of their margin they can give away with things like promotions and free offers. So fuck off, Nine.
And I mean, like, when you go in those Telstra thanks stuff, I mean, they throw out a lot of fucking stuff.
Like free movie tickets and
shit. They throw a lot of stuff to people who are, on their service,
Yeah.
Okay, next. Hilarious article through the week about the Dragons. And I could not fucking believe it. But it's just too good. Where it said that Dragons coach Paul McGregor was furious after a Red V training session last weekend, which saw a team of reserves and development players pump the majority of the St. George Illawarra side that lost to the Warriors. The Dragons were humbled by the injury-stricken Warriors, as we'll get to later.
Yes, they were.
The warning signs were there, though, last Saturday in Wollongong at training. Sources close to the Dragons say that a starting side, including the likes of Paul Vaughan, Cameron McGuinness, with a halves pairing of Ben Hunt and Corey Norman, were beaten by 3 tries against the ragtag B team, boasting Adam Clune and Jack DeBellin as the halves. The reserves were said to have battered the starting side through the middle and showed much more desire and an attitude to win. It's understood that the stood-down DeBellin led the charge, while Corbin Sims showing in the training run saw him force his way into the starting side for the woeful defeat to the Warriors. So that was the first part. Was that, like, I just love that they're so fucking bad. They're losing to their B team in training with a rapist who's not a ball playing.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a fucking playmaker. Guiding the team to victory against their first string guys. But then I love this line that they also put in there. They didn't have to put this in here, but I love that they did. With the Dragons handed a relatively straightforward run, Bulldogs, Sharks and Titans over the next 3 games, McGregor has a chance to rectify his side's slow start. So not only is this article terrible for fucking Dragons and their fans to read, also it's interesting to note that Sharks, you have now been relocated in the pecking order and you are now a Titans, Dragons, Bulldogs team. You're one of those. So
you are back to where you belong.
Exactly. So gobble it up. It was a nice, you got yourself a ring.
Yep.
It was a glorious couple of years.
That's it.
But just like your master of L's.
Yes.
Now he's gone. He didn't take the final L with him, and in fact the curse of L's will be raining down you as you contend for the spoon with these other 3 sides.
It seems to me you've lived your life like peptides in the wind.
How did peptides in the wind go exactly?
Well, they're never knowing where to inject when the L's come in. And I'd like you to be the cunt I hate most, but Robbie's the king. Your peptides burned out long before the winning ever did.
The schnitzels. The schnitzels ever did.
And it seems to me you live your life like a schnitzel in the wind. Oh,
Shane Flanagan, of course, is the defensive coach. He's currently under a ban from head coaching. That ban does not elapse. He can't coach a head coach aside until the 2022 season. So next, 2 years from now. So there's been talk that perhaps his ban may be shortened, or
that would be the biggest fucking cuck move.
Oh yeah.
If it was just, look, this guy's been banned for systemic rorts of fucking drug laws.
Yep.
Rules, whatever the fuck. But because he was smart enough to be employed by a coach that was sitting on an ejector chair with a fucking button ready to be pressed.
Well, he's just sitting on a grenade with the pin
so he was
lying
smart,
3 feet away on the ground.
Like, he's smart enough to be behind the guy most likely to get fired.
Yeah.
Can we please shorten his ban? What? Fucking seriously?
Did you see the stuff about the Gus review?
No.
They were saying that like they identified all these issues with the club, but they didn't have the money to rectify any of them. I think they couldn't afford to march Mary. Like for payers, like they are so fucked. Like as a club, financially, roster wise, they've got Gus came in and they identified all these problems, and then identified the fact that they can't afford to rectify any of them.
Fucking hell!
So Dragons.
So is this why they didn't kick up? Like they didn't seem to be much of a fight to keep Frizzle?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so. I would have. That's just what I would assume. But they're saying that Wayne Bennett could come to the club as McGregor's replacement next year if they have a poor season this year, which seems to be inevitable. And then they've also said that the English national team coach Sean Wayne and their current assistant coach Dean Young have also been thrown into the ring as cost-effective options.
That's it.
Young has done a long apprenticeship as a junior coach, and
so let's not beat around the fact that Flano is heir apparent. It's now just about the timing.
Correct.
Looking at this, they have their soft caps for football departments now.
Mm-hmm.
So you would assume that the NRL would have visibility over payments to footballing staff.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only thing that could stop them just putting fucking anyone in there. Like they could put in you.
Yeah,
as head coach of the
pay me,
Dragons.
and pay me like barely anything, or whatever.
However, that's what the NRL would then take issue with. Hang on, your defensive coach is on $200 a year, and your head coach is on $100.
Yeah,
that doesn't seem right to us. And
trying to set up like a figurehead, like a head coaching name only.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I mean, why haven't they gone that way anyway?
It's an interesting decline, and you can point to State of Origin 2018.
Oh, you can point to like Wayne Bennett leaving them. Like they went down the shitter. He was still there. Yeah. Like he announced it like April or May that that season in like 2011.
Oh yeah, if you want to go back that far, you can.
I mean, they've been fucked ever since.
Well, remember in 18 that they were the pioneers, and this is where, and I'm not trying to defend Merry here because he's obviously a less than impeccable coach. But that year, it was the Dragons and the Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
And they were the teams that pioneered this new brand of fuck the wrestle, take quick hit-ups, fall to your knees, get up, lightning fast play the balls, then one out runs in behind the markers and just marching upfield, and constantly having the defence, similar to what the 6 again rule's done a couple of times this week. And then as soon as their prominent forwards made the Origin team, they fell apart. And it was almost as if you could see that that's what they were trying to do and that's what they were working towards. And once they had that,
we shall see how it goes. What else have we got here? Moses Sully knocked back a $2 million deal from St. George. In related news, Sully knocked back a $2 million deal to recommit to Manly for half that amount.
Jesus.
So Sully re-signed for Manly for additional 2 seasons, knocking back a $2 million 3-year contract with the Dragons. And just another blow. And apparently he was deep in negotiations with the Dragons before COVID forced the NRL competition to be suspended.
Yep.
But it's a show of faith in Seagulls and their coach Desi, and for saving him from the crossroads after his less than stellar demises at the West Tigers and the Bulldogs.
Yes.
So Desi fixes again, and he's fixed Sully. Sully is not a work in progress; he's a fixed, and now Desi's moved on to his next project, which is also showing extremely promising fucking signs on the weekend.
Nice
in the fixing of Danny Levi, who was fucking great. He wasn't that great in the first 2 rounds, but he was fucking great last week. So, Hasladigo, you boy, as always.
That's it.
Now, do you have any other news things you want to talk about?
No, not really.
There's a lot of things like the rule changes and things like that. Believe me, we'll get to the way I've got the recaps laid out here. We'll do the games, and following the games, then if you have any thoughts that you want to add on the rule changes and just that general side of things, then we can just sort of finish up the round with that.
Sounds wonderful.
Okay, recaps. So, let me scroll back up this document. I just went too far. Thursday night, we had the Parramatta Eels 34 defeating the Broncos 6 at Suncorp. The Eels 34 came from tries to Nukore, Sivo, Gutherson, Jennings, Sean Lane, Wanga Blake, Moses 5 of 6 conversions, and the Broncos a try to Brodie Croft and a conversion to Jermaine Asako. So,
a high quality game to start off round 3. And by high quality, I mean the Broncos getting anal.
But to be fair, and look, this is a template that all bar 2 games followed on the weekend.
Yes.
teams with a fast start punishing the other team. We get to halftime with one team, barely hanging in there.
So the scoreboard showing a close game, but the action showing a different story.
Yeah, and then that team, with two exceptions, the team that went in with the halftime advantage ultimately had the game kind of wrapped up and finished by around the 60-minute mark.
Yep.
This was obviously the first prototype, because it was actually like a fucking tight struggle through the first half, and for quite a large portion of the game, and then Parramatta came out in the second half. They clicked it, exactly into gear where they needed to be, and it was kind of over by the 60th minute. And then it went to a really terrible, scrappy, like 15-minute sort of period there where both teams were just dropping the ball and wherever they were on the field in attack and defence. But the Eels, I mean, they look like they adapted well to the new regime, early on, and I guess a lot of that is not so much game plan and coaching as well as like just the natural ability of the players and things like that as well, I think.
Yeah. Look, I think the Eels were very well drilled, and this is what we were saying before the round, that the teams that came out and impressed this week would be the teams that were exceptionally drilled and fairly disciplined. And the Eels looked like they had more focus, and they looked like they had more accountability to each other than I've seen out of them in recent times. They were absolutely fantastic with their opening.
Yep.
And that made them the recipient of the first couple of 6 again calls.
Yep. And that first try came exactly off that.
That's it. And bear in mind, these two teams were, if there was a disadvantage, they were at it for being the first cab off the rank.
Yeah.
Everybody else got a chance to see how the 6 again unfolded.
Yep.
And to make any tiny adjustments that they could or thought was necessary. For the Broncos, it's an interesting story for them at the moment. Croft's come in and has really taken that team as his, it seems.
Yep. And he looks dangerous.
He does.
And that try score was fucking great.
It was a gorgeous fucking half try. The show, the go, put on just enough pace to be dangerous over 10 metres and get yourself over. But if I'm Paul White, I'm wondering why the guy that I'm paying $1 million a season to
isn't
that guy.
Yeah.
Brody Croft
hasn't been that guy for like 4 years.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But Croft wasn't bought there, to be the match.
He was there. He was there to be a second guy, so Milford would have more time and not be the focal point of the defence.
Exactly, and he was to take the pressure off.
Yep.
He's got a Melbourne Storm bred kicking game, and he was there to take end of set pressure off Milford and let Milford do his fucking runny spin around thing. But he was fucking missing. Milford was nowhere to be seen.
The only thing I remember Milford doing was bombing that try.
Yeah.
And then we had another try from Fluffy as well, towards the end. And in what was a closely fought first half, the Broncos could have been 3-2 at half-time.
Yeah, that's
very easily because those tries were like, they weren't those ones like, they had a chance but they just missed out. No, they fucking actually just dropped it. They both just dropped it. It was bombed, like 100% tries, like 100%. I thought another feature of the game was the absolutely fucking clueless defense of Katoni Staggs. He's one of the worst defenders I've seen in a fucking long time. Like, I mean, he's taken me back. Like, he's taken me back to the glory days of Blake Ashford. In that try that Gutherson scored, where he sort of just drifted over and then just sort of show and go, and Staggs had his back turned to him when he ran past him. And Staggs started off well, like he had that great break down the field, and he looked like a genius. But fuck, his defense was literally the losing of the game for them. There was situations there where he dropped the ball not far out. He picked it up. Someone else dropped the ball and he picked it up in an offside position, giving away a penalty. And then immediately, like the next set, he coat hanged someone and got another penalty. Missing tackles. Fuck it, he just hopeless.
There's some bright sides here for Brisbane. Like there were periods where their goal line defence put up with some pretty fucking serious pressure.
Yeah, I feel like that was all in that period though, where they were like both teams were just playing shit house.
If you're going to build on anything for next week, those are the.
It's not our job. It's not our job to fluff their bums and say, look, it's going to be all right.
It's not our
Broncos fans. It's going to be all right. That's not our job. Our job is to tell you you're fucking pumped.
It will not be all right when Michael Jennings looks like a fucking crafty veteran master out there.
Oh, slicing, drifting across and slicing through, and
drawing in 3 defenders for
that was
Jesus
great. Who was on his right? Was that Madison? It was like because when he drifted across, there was a player there that ran a line through a gap. And the Broncos are just like, oh, yeah, he's just going to short pass to the big guy and just put him through under the sticks. No, I'm going to go myself because you're dumb. Because you're dumb.
But the thing about Parramatta, and I looked at this in contrast with a lot of the other games, if you look at their end of sets, they have, I would suggest, the most balanced halves combination in the league at the moment. And by that I mean, Moses is going, if someone needs to take the game by the scruff of the neck, it's going to be Moses.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying his little fucking ex-Tiger heart out at the moment. He's looking for runs. And that's the other thing that seems to be a difference in the teams that are winning and winning well. But on his left, Brown's a genuine attacking threat.
Yep.
And so whilst you know that Moses is going to be the focal point, you probably think there are genuine attacking threats on the left. And that's where you've also got Jennings and Sivo, who are dangerous as well.
Yep.
So teams playing Parramatta can't afford to discount one side of the attack over the other, or plan for attack down one side most of the night. So, they look good, the Eels.
Okay, you got the tweets, haven't you?
Getting into tweets.
Yep.
On Twitter, Alpha Ben RL said, MILF fluffed that try worse than stepdad fluffs a MILF. Nice play on words, but you don't fluff MILFs.
Is a MILF's really your brand, though?
No, they're not.
Yours are more like MILF aged, childless who couldn't get it together for whatever reason because they're fucking crazy.
Mine are just fucking damaged goods train wrecks with daddy issues. That's my brand. It's French for At B.43, old Ben Dunn said, Gutherson, it's French for fraud. Nice segue. Big T at the biggest tiger on Twitter said, fuck, this is fucking great. Was football always this great? Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It's now just different. At _ JDHD44 on Twitter said, that was the most enjoyable game I've seen in years, purely because the commentators didn't have time to bitch out the refs every 5 seconds. At Christian Lynn 74 on Twitter said, Jennings does not score that try without the new rules, tired forwards, maybe frittata forwards.
People get tired at the end of games. Anyway.
They do.
I don't know any of these people falling for that.
At Goddamn Gunner said, I've peaked too early, paprika everywhere. Is this what Nirvana feels like? There you go. At Big Del Boy 46 on Twitter said, Seibold's excuse that refereeing was a cause for the defeat shows he is out of his depth, given it's his team and a roster he has helped build. A man under pressure.
I'm sorry, I didn't watch the post-match press conference. Is that what he said?
Or implied.
He implied in what way? The rule changes, or the referees didn't referee the Broncos fairly?
No, it wasn't so much like a legit ref's fault.
Yeah.
But more just,
saying it was a factor.
Yeah.
Without being
it's new and we're still trying to understand. And,
yeah, right.
So, the old coaches thing of trying to take the focus off your players.
Yeah. I'm sure they'd be teaching that at Harvard.
At Many-Faced God 00 on Twitter said, L's far too good, love the pace of the game. Wonder if getting an early start is more crucial now because of lack of fatigue in the one ref system. Is it too fast for one ref? Maybe too early to tell.
I understand that. I understand that as a Friday night tweet.
Yep,
I would agree. I think it unfolded a little bit, differently. It wasn't quite like that the rest of the round.
Yeah,
but
yeah. And last word goes to a Broncos fan close to our hearts at Toto in the Facebook group. I have a feeling, for fuck's sake, Darius will be used a lot this year.
Yep.
Nice.
Well, I mean, you've got Stags on one side of the field and Fluffy on the other side of the field, and Fluffy's actually looking sharp in defence.
Yeah,
compared to
that's it. So, he's done the reverse Latrell.
He has. The Cowboys, 36, defeated the Gold Coast Titans 6 up at the. I still haven't felt like I settled on a name for the Queensland Country Bank Stadium just yet.
Do we call it the bedpan because it looks like a giant bedpan?
I'm good with that. Bedpan. Okay, so we had a double to Hampton. Justin O'Neill try, Reece Robson with a double. Felt with a try. Holmes, 5 of 6 conversions and a penalty goal. Titans had a try to Brian Kelly and a conversion to Ash Taylor. And like that Brian Kelly try was fucking great.
That was.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, he made Felt and Val look fucking stupid.
Yes, he did.
Like, it was great.
Yes.
Sleight of hand.
Yeah.
And just speed just to turning circle and get around and around. I mean, fucking great. Yeah. But that was literally the only highlight for the Titans in this game.
Literally.
This game, and like it's going to be a theme over at least a couple of games this round, but this was actually, despite the utter ineptitude and inability of the Titans to produce anything, it was actually a tight game. Like it was a tight game.
Yep.
For a long time, and and they went into the halftime break, and it was one of these. It was fairly evenly poised. The Titans didn't look completely out of it at all.
No.
I mean, they weren't really generating attack, but it was only like 14-6 or something. So they were well in it until the second half. The Cowboys just absolutely obliterated them, and all of a sudden, Valentine Holmes is just like, that was the half of football where he arrived. He came back from New York, he literally arrived back from New York at halftime.
Yeah.
Got off the plane.
Yeah.
Get to the ground at halftime, and he was back.
They've quarantined his football ability.
Physically, he looked much better.
Yep.
He looked much fitter. I didn't once think, oh wow, he's fatigued or out of shape or anything.
Yeah.
And his passing touch, like either through quick passing or just like tapping the ball on, flicking it on, he was fucking amazing. Like, amazing.
I did feel a bit sorry for the poor old fucking Titans.
Why? Weakness. Don't feel sorry for the Titans.
Well, they've put up with a lot of shit about having no culture, about having fucking wags getting more attention than their football club, and anti-vaxxers and people hating children, all
what
that shit.
What part of this haven't they done to themselves?
True. They've waited so long for rugby league to be back.
Yeah.
Their first set, Peachy knocks on.
Yeah.
First fucking set.
Yeah. Second verse, same as first.
That's it. And it didn't stop from there.
Yeah.
And it seems to be this reoccurring theme with the Titans, and we've said it before, but the more things change, they're a team where individual fuck-ups happen at the worst possible time, and then the team pays the price for it.
Yeah.
It's shit like... There was that period where the Cows had a couple of really nothing sets. They had some repeat sets. They really weren't building any pressure. There was no direction in the attack of what the Cowboys were doing. And the Titans weathered the storm. And then Fogarty knocks on and tackles zero.
Yeah.
It's just typical Titans. They do something great as a team and get through a tough situation.
Yep.
And then an individual fucks up something simple and takes away all the good work.
Yep.
Granville, I think, what do you do with Granville if you're the North Queensland coach?
I don't know. I mean, look. I mean, I think the Cowboys were surprisingly impressive. So at this point, I'm not going to fuck with the Cowboys at all.
Do you make Granville your starting hooker? Given that fast starts now are so important?
If Granville was, like, if I had some sort of assurances that Granville was going to stay the 2015 or, like that sort of...
Like, given what we saw out of Robson.
Like, Robson, I mean, what a fucking way to announce yourself.
Yeah.
So, look, I think Granville, I mean, he's been on the... I feel like he's been on the edge for, like, at least a season.
But but the fact that there was no feasible replacement for him.
Yeah.
Probably took the pressure off.
Yeah, but like, I mean, Robson's announced himself, and I don't think they make changes like right away because it's a new format, and it was the Titans, etc.
Okay,
but eventually, look, if this keeps happening, then it's obvious that there's not going to be a decision to be made. It's the decision that Robson makes the decision himself.
I just like the fact that the Cowboys, really had a better energy about them. And a lot of the stuff that you see in the Titans is just that attitude stuff. Like there was a period where they were just trying to throw offloads, and offloads are incredibly damaging, especially now with this six again rule where staggered defensive lines or people offside can be such a risk to defending teams. Yeah. But there's those two states of mind. When you receive an offload, there's the pass first and the run first.
Yeah.
Pete's, every time he got an offload, would look around him and often would literally stand there and
wait to see
turn
who
in
was
two directions to see who he's going to throw a pass to instead of that run-first mentality, which is what I think the Gold Coast surely needs. So, still a bit to work on for the Cows. You're right, it was just the Titans, but a good first hit out after the break.
And it was in the second half, and it's a feature of the teams that looked great this week. It was teams that actually had structure in attack and could maintain a bit of shape and depth into their attack. They were the teams that did well. I mean, the Cowboys did that well in the second half.
Yes.
Not as well in the first half. Yeah. Eels did it all game.
Yep.
And, not many other sides really, looked that settled. Because the Titans, in contrast, they looked like, you saw I saw some commentary around the round saying that, this new system, it encourages less sort of set pieces and more like, heads up play and playing what you see and all that sort of stuff. I don't necessarily agree with that, but it does mean that the players the teams that have some structure.
Who said that?
Just
for fuck's
fucking,
sake.
just they, out there.
That's the same sort of dumb cunt opinion as tries from kicks don't count.
Well, it's the same stuff. It's the same dumb kind of opinion as the little guys back in the game. I saw a graph from Pythago NRL, and it was talking about production by playmakers, meaning 6, 7, or 9.
Yeah,
and there was less than, and it was measured basically round 3 over the last couple of years.
Yep,
and it was actually less. But the Channel 9 people want to push the narrative. The little man.
Little man's back in the game.
Fatigue's in the game. So the little man's come back in there. No.
Yeah,
no, he hasn't.
That's it.
No, he hasn't. He was always there. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
It
is.
Fuck up.
Yeah, that's it. But no, the point of rugby league is to score more points than your opposition. And any way you get points is a valid fucking option.
Mm-hmm.
I have looked at and wondered often what would happen if teams set up for a field goal every time they were at the 20. Given that you get...
That tries from kicks thing, I mean, remember when
Penrith were
years ago, when Penrith,
when Luke Walsh was in the halves,
and
he couldn't run because he was just fucking busted.
And there's that year they got to the finals when they got knocked off by Canberra at home.
After they took out East.
Yeah. And so, guess what? If you can score a try every time you fucking
it wasn't Luke Walsh. It was the year Jamie, because that was you're talking about is Jamie Soward.
Yeah, okay.
And then it got in his head. And he stopped.
Yeah.
Fucking
in the finals.
Yeah.
After you got to the finals. Doing that thing. Tweets.
Yes.
Sorry, one thing. Drinkwater had some moments last year, but I mean, he's looking pretty fucking solid now.
Yeah. Fucking is. And a couple of comments in here about that too. But at Tim Gradio on Twitter said, Jai Arrow has gone full Don Mattingly. And for those of you that aren't rolling around with laughter right now because of that obscure fucking reference, that was a baseball player that had large sideburns.
Yeah. And more specifically, people who don't watch baseball know that because of the Simpsons softball episode where Mr. Burns brings in a team of ringers and Mr. Burns keeps telling Mattingly to shave his sideburns, and to the point where he actually shaves them down to skin and he still gets told to shave his sideburns. Yeah.
At Ollie George _ on Twitter said, whenever I moan about the Bulldogs and how shit we are, I watch the Titans and feel slightly better. Even though we'll probably lose to them anyway. Oh, fuck, you're in a dark place, brother. You're in a dark place. Old Egg Council Creeper at _score 3. Ooh, I do love me a good Friday night titty smacking. Hashtag tits got fucked. There you go. How clever. Michael in the Facebook group said, I hope the Cowboys keep playing Clifford and Drinkwater together. Morgan can go stand in the centres when O'Neill is injured. Matt, or Hammers as he's known in the Facebook group, look, we should have lost by much more. I'm going to light a candle and look at the small improvements. There's a few and it's happening. It's a long road, but we will become less shit.
I'd challenge him
And
to
he's misspelled
itemise.
that, so it actually says, we will become less shit.
Yes, that's right. Cumless shit. I've never heard a better way. A better descriptor of the times. Cumless shit.
His friend in misery, Norts, in the Facebook group said, fuck rugby league. Ben Eden in Facebook, JT with a casual 200 metres in the second half.
He's loving it. I mean, like, let's face it. I mean, he's
Yeah.
he would have got it anyway.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, like
maybe not all in the second half.
The format is very suitable in his, and it's certainly not going to stem the tide from him anytime soon.
Yes. At Bethany_B_97 on Twitter said Granville is stealing a living up there. Robson an absolute gun and showed it tonight. And Greg Nixon, who is a new member in the Facebook group, welcome, said, in the fair dinkum department, Ash Taylor is a poor man's tanned Alan Langer. 2020 Alan Langer after a 4X brewery tour.
Yep.
That's exactly what he is.
That is fair.
Yes.
Is that it?
That's it.
Roosters 28 defeated the South Sydney Rabbitohs 12 at Wankbest on Friday night. The Roosters 28 came through tries to Tupou, Flanagan, Tedesco, coordinate friend, Flano Jr. 4 of 5 conversions. The Rabbitohs 12 tries to Murray and Thomas Burgess. Reynolds 2 of 2 conversions. So, once again, same story first half.
Yep.
Finished off the second half. But the Latrell experiment must surely fucking end. I mean, there was a period there, like about 25 minutes into the game, I think it was, where he was shifted out to the left for a rest, and they pushed AJ to fullback. Yeah. And during that time, that's when Murray scored the try over on that side. And on subsequent tries, the Roosters scored, particularly in the second half. He barely got a hand on the guy that scored the try. Yeah. Like he'd be breaking through, and there'd be like a centre or someone that's kind of trying to tackle the East guy as he goes over the line, and Latrell gets there like all too late. Yeah. Like so his fitness is shit. His positional awareness is shit as a fullback, and this is the fucking NRL. Like you can't learn positional. I mean. Yeah. When you learn positional awareness and shit as a fullback, like SG ball and fucking, on your way all the way up and through. Yeah. You don't.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't learn it in first grade when you've been paid like a fortune.
Yep.
So whoops. So yeah, the experiment must end because it's costing the Rabbit. I mean, well, they scored one of their tries when he was in the vicinity. Mm-hmm. They conceded a lot of fucking tries when he was not where he should have been.
Yep.
Just at some point, people have to swallow their fucking pride and to say, "Look, this is a sport where wins are essential. It's a shortened season. We can't keep throwing fucking games away."
That's it. You know what, Latrell? You said you wanted to be fullback, and we've given you every opportunity for it, and it hasn't worked. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what. You're going to go and play in the centres. But if you want to do extras, we will allocate all the coaching staff in the world and pay them all the overtime they need.
Yep.
Latrell, you want to put in the extras to work on your fitness, to work on positional fucking defending, we'll go and get some of the fucking greatest fullbacks we've ever had. We'll go and pay Billy Slater to be a fucking consultant. Mm-hmm. We'll go and... No, Anthony Minicello wouldn't work for anyone but the Roosters. But you know what I'm saying? Like we'll go and get great fullbacks that have come before.
They can get Mark Minicello and hope that he's watched Anthony enough in the fucking Christmas barbecue.
Because that would still be more of a fullback education than Latrell has. This was a great example between exactly as you said before, the teams that had some discipline and some structure in attack and teams that had just a vague fucking idea of what they wanted to do. The Roosters, I feel, for this round... were the closest to pre-rule change football. And by that I mean did a relatively good job of not absolutely fucking up the ruck, but by controlling it.
They had the best strategy in what they would. I mean, and they obviously were trained to do it this way in light of the rule changes, where they'd have two guys meet the ball runner, hold him up, off the ground, and hold him. Not let him advance, but hold him up, sort of at a 45-degree angle. Then, after a period of time had elapsed, which just happened to be equal to the exact amount of time the line needed to retreat 10 metres, then a guy would come in around the waist and put the guy to the ground. Then they'd all pop up. The line's already set. No wrestle, per se.
No, not at all.
No concession of six agains because they haven't been pumping the guy on the ground.
But defensive control.
Yes.
And funnily enough, the Roosters, as was reported widely, were the only team to actually get a refereeing consultant in on their books and look at how that rule change would affect them. But the other thing they did was stick to an older style. When I say older, I mean pre-round 3.
Ah, the old days.
The old days. See how easy it is to slip back into, remember the good old days? Style of attack.
Yeah.
Where I feel like a lot of the games seem to just get into this set of 6 shootout with, we'll have a set, then you have a set, then we'll have a set, then you'll have a set, and we'll go at a breakneck fucking pace and see who breaks first. The Roosters went into that, okay, we're just going to get into the groove and we're going to apply pressure. Yep. And we're going to finish our set where we want to finish our set, then we're going to defend, but we're also going to try and get repeat sets.
Yep.
And we're going to keep you guessing on how the set's going to finish.
Yep.
And they did that very, very well. Kiri was absolutely fucking wonderful in terms of his control of the ball and when to put kicks in and when not to put kicks in. He's got a great target and Tupou out on the wing.
Yep.
In contrast, South didn't really seem to have a set plan.
No, and you would think with this system of catching people out and, forcing them to pump you on the ground and conceive, 6 again, like, that's the sort of shit that Damien Cook was doing under the old system.
Yeah.
So you would think that he would absolutely thrive, but under the coaching of Bennett, he's never been as good as he was in that last year with Seabold when they got through the finals and everything. And it's disappointing to see. And then you contrast that with Jake Friend, who was almost on fucking life support.
Yeah.
Like he just wasn't gelling with Cronk at the start of Cronk's tenure.
Yep.
And then eventually, Cronk brought him on.
Yep.
Then he ruptured his pec or whatever when he'd taken himself from almost being shopped to likely Queensland origin hooker. Then he busted his pec. And then he was fucking like amazing in this game.
Yeah.
Fucking Jake Friend. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And then so you look at Damien Cook and you're like, mate.
Yeah. And if Wayne Bennett has fucked New South Wales Rugby League in confidence as some sort of weird fucking poor DNA having revenge plan for what New South Wales Rugby League did to Cody Walker, then I can actually understand that. So
it could be simpler than that. It could just be like a Queensland. Could just be a Queensland origin.
Yeah, true.
Sabotage job.
True. And that's another thing. Souths were not at full strength. They didn't have their preferred team, obviously, with no Cody Walker in there. But it was just this really weird shit. Like
it did tell, though, in terms of, when Reynolds was the option guy, they had no options. And he was gobbled up pretty simply.
And I don't know if he's playing hurt.
Isn't he always, though? I mean, he's always something with him. Yeah.
But he's not running.
No.
And you look at, again, that Parramatta game.
I don't know if he could, though, either, because, once again, he was the only guy. So if he's the only guy, a team is excellent at defence like the Roosters, then they go, okay, well, if we stop him, then, nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I don't think he really had the opportunity to run because they were on him. You know what I mean?
No, there were a couple of times where I feel that if he'd have put the foot down, it also does that thing for the rest of the game where it puts him in two minds.
Yeah.
If you try your runs a couple of times, even if they catch you, then for the rest of the game, as soon as you put on a little bit of speed drifting across field, they're of two minds.
Yeah.
It just makes them make more decisions. But stuff like Gay Guy spent so much fucking time sniffing around behind Cook, and I get why he's doing it. but spent so much time behind Cook in the middle of the field that he just ended up playing a props role.
Yeah.
Or a second rows role. And he's not a very fucking good forward.
No.
Took all the
Not
effectiveness
at all. Yep.
in attack and then stretched them because he's got
So
to
far
get
out of
back
position,
in position that it just really was a fucking dog's breakfast for the Rabbits in attack.
Elliot BMOS.
Fuck, man.
Fucking God.
Jesus Christ.
We have spoken long and eloquently and effusively about the deeds of the Mozzes
He could.
in 2016
Like,
Origin.
he could defect to Queensland and I wouldn't hate him.
Yeah.
Like, he could come out and say, I now identify as a Queenslander. And
But
I'd be like, you know what? I can't hate on that.
That defensive play though,
2 in 1 set.
where he just where he just like or two like
Two try savers.
two try savers in one play. Like it was like unfucking believable.
Yeah. It's pretty fucking special, especially, again, at that age.
Yeah.
That's beyond crafty veteran. That's just...
Yeah, because he still had to he had the motor to get. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fantastic. Brendo in the Facebook group said, the Morris brothers playing like they're 20. And here you go. You've got that. All natural. And you've got fuckheads like Sharks, Bronch and Cherry that want to take performance-enhancing drugs.
At the age of 19 or whatever. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the Mozzes, their test is gone.
Yeah.
Like they're playing on the most uneven playing field ever.
That's
when you
it.
compare them to
You know what? They should be given PEDs out of courtesy.
Well, TRT, yeah. I mean, replacement therapy.
That's it.
They should be. But you imagine if they did.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking Jason Taumalolo may as well pack his shit because the Mozzies would be running it.
Robbo comes out and says, well, we're actually only fielding 4 players tonight. There's Tedesco, 2 halves, and A. Morris. Might put the other one on.
One on the bench.
Chris in the Facebook group said, fatigue equals blowouts just like the good old days. Ian said, well done, Roosters, on moving clear of the Titans on the ladder. Ooh, harsh. Ben in the Facebook group said, Roosters look dangerous. They outpaced and outclassed the Bunnies tonight. Friend even burned Cook last one. Morris and his double tackling was amazing. Josh in the Facebook group said, Kiri's been a bit underwhelming. No more Cronk means less composure. I don't think I necessarily agree with underwhelming.
I think he's doing his thing. I mean, the Flano isn't Cronk.
No, he's not.
So that's where any differential is coming from in terms of control.
And that left edge isn't that left edge with Latrell anymore. As much as we give him shit at fullback.
Yep.
Kiri was fucking blessed to have that on his left-hand side.
Yeah.
For so many years. Nigel in the Facebook group, who has obviously been smoking some meth, said, good to see the People's team win one for the nation last night. Everything is going to be okay, people. Hashtag the People's team. Hashtag battlers of the comp. Yeah,
no, I love his commitment to his shtick.
Yes.
Like you and your Yuri Cleary shit.
That's not a shtick. That's a real thing.
That's a total. That's a shit, not a shtick.
Ryan in the Facebook group said, good to see that my bunnies haven't abandoned their original game plan from the first 2 rounds, staying consistent by only playing 60 minutes. Ooh.
I dare say they didn't play that long.
At Supergrover4 said after there was a cutout of Ruan Sims, Ruan actually at the game casting Dally M votes. Ha ha ha.
Those cutout things. Very interesting.
Very.
Yes, and knowing what I do about printing, that I'm fairly certain that there is zero vetting at this stage. I'm fairly certain that there's no vetting going on of what gets printed out. However, after certain things got through through the week, or for last round, I'm also equally certain that the people who are charged with standing the cardboard things up on the seats, I feel like there'll be an additional level of rigor applied going forward. So if you can get to like Big Dick Wood onto the footy thing, then best of luck to you. And I'm certain that it's not through lack of trying. The thing is, well, there's been a lot of Photoshop ones going around as well, and being sort of passed off as real. Most notably, the Matty Johns show where they photoshopped Hitler onto one of them, and they subsequently got absolutely ass raped.
Yes,
by to the point where then they had to do an apology and blah blah blah.
Nasty.
Moving on, the Warriors 18 defeated the Dragons 0 at Central Coast Stadium on Saturday. The Warriors' tries came to Tanua Brown, Nicarima, and Qatar. Nicarima 2 or 3 conversions and a penalty goal, defeating the Dragons 0. First off, for the first thing you need to say is how good. Just good on your Warriors. You sacrificed a lot. And I'm not sure you can maintain it over a long season away from home, but it was clear that was kind of the spirit with which they, they kind of formed. They basically came together as a group. And
I would like to say something different.
And you reckon they're going to do it the entire season? Do you?
No, I would like to say Warriors' wives, girlfriends, and partners do fucking better. Make it harder to leave you. You see how fucking easily these guys just didn't even want to go home. At all. I understand that going home means actually going to New Zealand, and that's a hard enough fucking
that's part
task
of it as well. Yeah.
For anyone, like the less people with that fucking accent that I'd have to listen to would only be a positive for my life. I'd need to wear noise cancelling headphones even when I speak to avoid throwing myself off the nearest bridge.
Because, as much as you'd hate it, you'd be picking up bits and pieces as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And even in New Zealand, if you tried to throw yourself off the highest fucking bridge, some annoying cunt would have tied an elastic band to your ankles. You can't even kill yourself properly. So New Zealand Warriors, wives, girlfriends, and significant others do better.
Now, another thing I want to say is shout out to Stephen Kearney, because it's clear that he's been on our Twitch stream. Because people who've seen the Twitch streams would understand that when using the New Zealand Warriors in that game, Harris Tavita is a fucking liability, and no attack springs forthwith from the side with him in the side. So very early on, I made the super coach adjustment of putting in Cody Nicarima, and then the Nicarima Blake Green combo fucking shreds. And all I'm going to say is I'm just motioning to the score.
You're welcome, Warriors.
You're welcome, motherfucker.
Although what you didn't have in your computer game rugby league equation is that the Dragons' 5th tackle options would just be absolutely fucking atrocious.
Oh, they're shit.
And in a situation where so map out the halves combinations across the league.
Yep.
And would you suggest that on paper, not necessarily in practice, that the Dragons have if you had to give a rating to players, the Dragons have the highest combined rating of halves, as in, Ben Hunt is a rep level player.
But Corey Norman's a fucking drug abuser. What's he ever done?
True, but is he not, thought of more highly in terms of skill level than a lot of the other supporting halves in the comp?
Fuck, and then we have to go through. I mean, like, are they on paper the worst? Fuck no. I mean, I wouldn't say they were near the top either, but they're certainly.
I'm
certainly
saying
far
that
from
they
the
should
worst.
be coming up with better 5th tackle options than
course,
what they are.
Of course they should. Of course.
And especially since if they're playing to their potential, they should be doing a better job than Parramatta of keeping sides guessing as to where the attack's going to go and where potential threats are going to come from.
Well, we said, remember we were talking about the game last week, and we were actually like, wow, the Dragons have actually, put out their best 17 positionally that they have in ages.
Yep.
So let's look on the bright side. Things are looking up. They're playing the Warriors, the winless Warriors, who only were given a try.
Yep.
And And so now I just throw my hands up and just be like,
Fucking hell, Dragons.
cunt's fucked.
Yeah, that's it.
There's nothing, I can't do anything for you.
Yeah, it really was fucking poor. And they came up against a Warriors side that somehow forgot to drop the ball.
Like, they were like over 40 straight completed sets. To start with 40 sets in a game is a fucking lot.
Yeah.
But it was like 6 minutes before the end of the game, or less than 6 minutes before the end of the game, when they made their first mistake.
Yep.
They're completing 40 plus consecutive sets in a game and going into the 75th minute, 100%.
Let alone the Warriors.
It won't be beaten this year or ever, mate. Most probably. I mean, fucking like unbelievable effort,
Yeah.
and like you could talk about it as bad as the Dragons are and all that sort of thing. At the end of the day, the Warriors, they probably should have won by a lot more. Given that level of ball control.
No, I was extremely happy to see the Warriors.
Yeah, I got nothing else to say about this game. Dragons, fucking sort your shit. No, don't. Not yet. Wait till you play us.
Comments on the game. Shane Cash in the Facebook group said, Mars bars all round. Graham in the Facebook group said, my dick has never been this hard and I'm not even a Warriors fan.
That's sad. Second team syndrome.
That's it. Oh, no, that's just a love of rugby league. Daniel, new member in the Facebook group, said, Dragons fan here. Fuck me, what a joke. 5 times getting caught within 10 metres of the try line on the last full-strength team as well. Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's pure fucking Griffin ball. That one, the old run on the last every time. Yeah.
The other thing is as well, the Warriors had a tremendous amount of injuries in the lead up to this game,
right,
and suffered some during the course of it too, like Peter Hiku and going out. So,
Aldi Morris twin Josh said, "Who's the team in the blue? 40 out of 40 completed sets. What the fuck am I watching?" Lachlan in Facebook said, "In all honesty, this is just such a no frills game of football." With one side doing the basics, and I mean basics, really fucking well, and the other side not. That is a very good way to sum up the game. James, another new member in the Facebook group, said, gotta say, Norman has a very punchable head.
Look, I want to put a blanket fucking on-site edict onto every bottle job from the fucking quarantine period. Because it's like they're just wearing a badge that says they're a fuckhead. It's legit turned me off some fucking players. Case in point, fucking Appy coming out with that fuckhead hairstyle.
Why?
Just that fucking that shitty, bleach their hair, at the start of the quarantine, and now it's like just a little fucking frosted top. Fucking.
No, you've got him all wrong.
No.
You've got him all wrong.
I've got him all right.
What you haven't counted on is that later this year, because Hollywood's in lockdown, because again, I don't know if you've heard, but some people are out demonstrating in America, and Hollywood's in America.
Since when?
Since always, but topically, maybe not for much longer. There's actually a reboot of the movie Twins, starring Bill Kickow and Appy Coruscant.
Okay.
And they've missed the funny part of the first one, was that the twins look nothing alike. And so they haven't got that point, and they're just... So
it's like the part where they're wearing the Hawaiian shirts or whatever, the same, except
yeah.
This time it's a fuckhead hairstyle.
Yes.
Okay,
that's
gotcha.
It. And they're donating all of their charity to male pattern baldness research.
Oh, really?
So it's a good cause. Lando in the Facebook group said, can't choke if you don't start. The boys are trying to move from being a meme to just being shit. Ash said, where can I get odds on Dragons for the spoon and Mary to be the first coach sacked? Sportsbet isn't coming to the party and I need to salvage something from this vuvuzela of a season.
Yeah, I think all futures bets were cancelled by Sportsbet for not just those, but people who are, teams for paying X amount to make into the finals and stuff. And, if they weren't, they were I'd say Sportsbet, doing that thing where, if your team's leading by 4 at half time, you get paid out for the win. Yep. I think that anyone in round one who betted that Mary would be the first coach to go and Dragons would get the spoon, I'm pretty sure they would have paid that out already.
Yeah, correct. JDHD44 on Twitter said, fuck Mary, fuck Dufty, fuck Millwood, fuck Norman, fuck Hunt, fuck me, fuck you, fuck Wars' exploded testicle, fuck Trump, fuck Chapo, fuck Mary. That's fucking great.
Yep.
At King Levius said, the near-perfect Tamworth Warriors bodied the Dragons. I bodied Giannis. Broncos got smoked. Didn't have to watch Ponga Jizz Fest. Refs just let the boys play. Fuck, it's good to have the footy back. Hashtag God's game. And in the spirit of equal opportunity of airtime, in what may have been his last tweet ever, at Giannis_Mateus. Why isn't every NRL fan now fluffing the Dragons' balls for being the team which gave redemption to everyone's second team?
Now, Giannis, business at thisweekinleague.com, send us an email and let us know what the circumstances were around your demise. I'm assuming it was like reported and then suspended, and let us know, is it a permanent suspension? Is it a lifetime ban from the platform? Because what happened, just for people who everybody listening who doesn't know what we're talking about, except for 10 people probably.
Yeah. There's a thing on social media
having Avi bets basically. So when teams play, I'm a Manly supporter.
I'm a Penrith supporter.
Manly and Penrith are going to play each other. Let's have an Avi bet. Which is our avatar, our display picture on Twitter.
Winner gets to choose the display picture of the loser for the next, generally a week.
And for example, things that, say Manly win, the Manly supporter would pick, like from back in the strippers of league era with Wolfman, pretty much naked, that's your picture for the week. Or, you're basically picking something to try and, there's something that's embarrassing for the vocal fan of another club.
Or, topically, King Levius.
King Levius
bet his Twitter handle and named himself Cleary's bitch for almost 12 months.
Yeah.
Took his fucking medicine
he did.
Like a champion.
And that was the day I bet he lost against you, the Warriors Penrith game.
And I would like to just take this opportunity to point out that both of these people are fucking staunch individuals who make bets and then pay their fucking take their medicine.
Yes. And so, unfortunately for Giannis, Levius chose a photograph of very topical and very not cool situation where the gentleman lost his life at the hands of the police in Minneapolis. And
was it the hands or the knee?
Well, yeah. And with the Warriors logo superimposed over the police officer and the Dragons logo superimposed over the victim. And so I am almost certain that, shout out to Mr. Giannis_Mateus, who took his medicine and honoured his bet, but I'm pretty sure that he got fucking
smoked,
lifetime banned from the platform for it. Oof. And look, that's not a surprising outcome, but let us know, send us an email and let us know actually what the situation was. But I feel like that was it.
Are there any internet lawyers out there? Can we appeal this?
Well, at the end of the day, it's a private company and they have their toss, and if it fits into something under their terms of service, then true. They can do what they want. This is the lamentation of everyone who's ever been banned for life off Twitter. Is it's not a public utility. It's a private company running a service, and they can
yes.
They can control access to it as they see fit, unfortunately.
Last word on that one goes to our good mate Devon Head. Can't wait for the second wave of Wuhan to come through and suspend the footy. I am trying to limit my Mars bar intake. And fucking shout out to Dev for your fitness journey. Shredded and fucking fit as fuck.
So inspirational. Sell me a fucking fake NFL jersey.
Yeah, and well, unlike other previous hosts of this podcast, we will say that regardless of your fitness journey, do not fuck over listeners of this show with your harebrained fucking jersey Ponzi schemes, Devon Head, you fucking cunt.
Yes, we'll cut you.
Yes.
The Tigers 28 defeated the Sharks 16 at Bankwest. Where are we? Tigers tries 2. Debutant Harry Grant, Robert Jennings, Luke Garner, David Nofaluma, and Garlic Sauce Aloye. Benji, 1 of 4 conversions and a penalty goal. Mbai, 1-of-1 conversion and a penalty goal. The Sharks 16, a double to Josh Dugan. Will Kennedy also with a try, and Sean Johnson at 2 of 3 conversions.
Fucking hell, Sharks. Fucking really?
This one will hurt the Sharks because at this stage they were the only team to go in with the halftime lead and momentum and lose.
Mm.
And for their fans, I mean, for the club, that hurts. For their fans to lose directly at the hands of David Nofaluma.
Yeah. First
setting up Garner for the try.
Yeah.
And then running through their fucking left-hand defence to score his try.
Fucking
Feeble.
Well, even just the fact, like, it was a return.
Yeah. It was
one of those occasions where I'd thought I'd missed something.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, because Noffa was like doing stuff and scoring a try.
Watching with the sound down, there are times when something catches me that off guard when I see it.
Yep.
That I'm like, oh, fuck, what was that for? Is there an infringement over on the other side of the field off camera that they're now explaining that I didn't see, so I need to hear? So I turn the volume up, and there's nothing. Yep. It's legit. He just ran fucking straight through Chad. Not even through him, like just next to him.
Yep.
Fuck me. Tigers got off to a very, very good start, and that was, I think, thanks to Harry Grant.
Yeah, he looks good, and I've got here in my notes that at this stage I'm prepared to say that he's the best hooker in the history of the side. And that includes the combined histories of Balmain and Western Suburbs.
Yes.
As well as the West
He's
Tigers.
Actually better than any hooker that club has ever had put together.
Yeah.
To form one fucking cuntron, let our powers combine.
Mm-hmm.
He's better than all of them put together.
Yes.
Too bad that he's only there for, 1 season, 2 seasons?
A year. But
a year.
Look, let's see what pans out. I think it's very difficult. It's very difficult to look ahead and go what's going to happen there, even though at this stage, a year.
So hang on. Like, it's not our job to fucking fluff Broncos fans or give them hope, but it is our fucking thing to soften the blow for Tigers.
Well, is it softening is it softening the blow for Tigers, or is it sharpening the dagger for the Storm?
Or are you giving them? What are you trying to say? You giving Tigers fans false hope by going, "Don't worry, Harry Grant will stay after 1 year."
Well, that's the thing. It's a no-lose situation, isn't it? Because I'm either giving them false hope or I'm daggering the Storm. I mean, either way, enemies are getting smited.
Storm are daggering themselves. I fucking need you to do that. Aaron fucking Woods should be, and I tweeted this out. He should be out of all of the games, and there were some fucking woeful performances. You know, well, no, there was pretty much the Dragons. They were the worst. But he should be the first individual that is a casualty of the 6 again rule. A casualty of the new one ref system.
Yeah, I mean this new format will expose utter laziness from lazy cunt players.
Yes, it will.
And on my list here, it says I'd like to submit the names Aaron Woods, Chad Townsend, and Jack Williams to the shit list for this game, because it's not overstating it to say that their defensive contributions to this game, or lack thereof, were match losing.
And it must be so frustrating because you contrast that within the same team with Wade Graham.
Yep.
Who was fucking everywhere. He was really trying to, and it's tough when you're not in that position in the halves where you can roam a little bit without disrupting the offensive structure too much. But any good thing that the Sharks did came from having Wade Graham involved, and coincidentally or not, running down the same fucking side as BJ and Noffa.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what gets me about current coaching, and probably points to the inexperience of John Morris, in that if you've got something that's working so fucking well, keep doing it. You might have had a game plan to go in there. You might have had a game plan that says the Tigers are the worst team under bombs for 20 years, so we're just going to bomb them.
Yep.
If you run a couple of plays down the left and just keep running through them, then you go, forget about bombing them, keep doing that.
Yep.
Because it is garnering us results, and it's gotten us not only back into the game, but ahead.
Yep.
And then for some reason, they just fucking stopped going out there.
Yeah.
Really,
and the combination with Dugan as well. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
He was doing stuff.
Yeah.
He was actually doing stuff.
Yeah.
He was damaging.
They promised fucking green whistles.
It was great. I mean, like we know about Wade Graham, and we expect greatness from Wade Graham down the left-hand side of the field, whether it be fucking Origin or, But, then to have that combination with Dugan, like, wow,
Yeah.
that's something that they could look forward to utilising perhaps more in the future games. Do you think?
Now, what happened with Chad at the end? Did he actually have an injury that he was
I
carrying?
heard he was hooked.
So he was hooked and then started a limp as he was walking off, so it didn't look like he was hooked?
I was in the same boat as you in that I'm, often more often than not watching without volume. Although I did watch the Friday night ones and with volume in the Manly one, but this one I didn't. So as I flicked through social media, accompanying while watching the game, the universal consensus was that he was hooked.
Yeah.
So I just said, okay, he must have been hooked.
Okay.
And rightly so.
The timing suggests he was hooked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless the timing was just so that, my injury is what prevented me from moving as a try was scored.
Yeah. Spin it any way you like, fella.
Fucking hell. Luke Brooks. Like, there was an adult-sized cardboard cutout of a fucking 10-month-old baby in the stands, and Luke Brooks was still the most out-of-proportion cunt in that field. The fuck is going on with his genetics?
Can I just say, it doesn't matter how cute the baby is, it's fucking freaky to see like a massive baby. It's just disconcerting.
Fucking good golly, Miss Ollie. The fuck are you doing down there?
Yeah.
But you're still not as freakishly out of proportion as that the world's fucking tallest midget, Luke Brooks.
Yes.
Fuck him. Sorry.
Mulatalo, look, I loved the shithousery.
Yeah.
I loved it. But get better at defense if you're going to be doing that shit, man.
Yeah.
Because in the first half it was okay, it was working for you.
Yep.
Second half, no,
Yeah.
not at all. What else have I got to look at here? Talking about exposing lazy cunts. Harry Grant. That's pretty much, that's it. I think I've been through all my points, so if you want to hit the tweets, go for it.
Lovely. Michael on Facebook said the Litardo Laneway is the only glory hole bigger than Hope Solos. Yeesh.
It really is. Despite the win, it still can't be denied that there are issues in terms of defensive communication down that side.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, is it communication or is it BJ just fucking running up?
He leaves his guy high and dry.
Yeah.
And he wasn't that good to start with. He doesn't need to be left high and dry.
That's it. It's years and years and years of having Rapiner outside you who knows to fucking follow your dumb cunt ass up and is fast enough in most occasions to turn and cover.
Yes.
If there's a fucking cutout thrown. So what you're asking there is for Noffa to actually make good defensive positions purely based on the person that he's defending with, and I think that's where your plan falls down, BJ. Yeah. Real Dad, Thumb himself, Glenn, said just when the world thought they had run out of heroes, the West Tigers come to the rescue, just like they always asterisk do. So I don't know what we're being rescued from. In fact, I think that's pretty fucking poor considering what's going on in the world at the moment.
Over the years,
For you to suggest that your West Tigers can solve things like systemic racism in America, like I would expect nothing fucking less though from a bald white man who makes kids of colour call him a grand fucking wizard.
Also, over
racist.
the year, there is enough commentary after West Tigers games on social media from him that I could probably code up a Glenn's West Tigers post-match comment generator.
Yeah.
And we could just go click, 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 and it would be fucking spot on.
Yes, it would.
Like those things where I forced the bot to read 1,000 tweets that Glenn made about the West Tigers, and then wrote this. And here is the screenplay it wrote.
Ben Dunn in the Facebook group said, "Stop the planet, I want to get off." At RCB Sharks on Twitter said, "I am sad." That's the tweet. In which our good friend One-Eyed Tiger replied, I am happy.
Is that it?
At Jared Hunt said, up the Tigers, solid second half. Our left side needs some major help or change, but very happy with a win. And we'll give biggest T. I really like Benji Marshall. I'm a finals win away from slipping into a Special K Online and Val Holmes relationship. It's taking all my energy to stay in the light. And we'll give the final word on that one to another homie that we need to pour a 40 out for on Twitter this week that got himself permabanned. At the boys. Sharks really missed Cherry. He really injects something special into that team. For fuck's sake, if that's the quality of the stuff you're going to tweet, I'm glad you got permabanned.
Yep.
Because that's worse than low-hanging fruit. That's fucking on the ground.
That's rotting.
Fermented, rotting. Yeah, fuck off.
The Raiders 22 defeated the Storm 6 down at the Korean Housewife. The Raiders tries to Rapana, Kotrick, Nickel Klogstad, and Tarpanay, and Croker 3 of 3 conversions, and Papali had one missed. The Storm, their try, singular, came to Dale Finucane and Cameron Smith with the conversion. So look, first thing's very fair to say that George Williams is looking fucking good both sides of the ball.
Fucking oath he is.
Defensively,
yeah.
Fucking passing amazing, creating, tremendous.
But also, that first thought run.
Yeah.
The minute he's got a little bit of fucking space, that ball is tucked and he is fucking gone.
Yep.
And he's not the fastest guy on the field.
Yep.
But again, it's not a fucking hard equation.
He's one of those little dump ass.
Yeah, that's it. But the more potential decisions that you make a defensive player make,
the greater the odds of him making the wrong
correct.
one. Correct. Yeah.
It's not that fucking hard. And if every time you get the ball, there are more potential situations he has to go through, then the more time you have and the more likely you are to get an opportunity out of a defensive line.
Yeah.
The Storm try was pretty basic, and again, I don't want to say that basic tries don't count because they sure as shit do. But one thing I noticed about the Storm was defensively they were very, very, very compressed. And I don't know if that was the plan going in, whether it was, well, we can't fucking wrestle people, so we just need to get numbers in and need to dominate.
I think it was the plan, and that's why they ended up getting burned by Kotrick from that try and Rapiner as well at the start.
But and good on the Raiders. There just looked to be that much fucking room around the Storm, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
Like, think back to a season and try and think of any time where it's been possible to go around the Melbourne Storm.
Yeah, but also for all their dominance of the general flow of the game, the difference just came down to Melbourne's utter inability to actually create anything when they were in the red zone. I mean, they had a lot of chances to score tries. Yep. They were in the game, in the last 10 minutes. They were heavily attacking the Raiders down their end with the opportunity to bridge the gap. Yeah, but they just had so like Munster was scheming and looked pretty dangerous all the time, and Pappenhausen obviously as well. But like Munster's scheming, but there was no one running a fucking line. Like, where's Wanda Sykes? Like, is usually super reliable.
Yep.
Running a line.
Yep.
Not there to be. Then you got fucking dumb shit like Nelson. Going for a grubber like I was fucking God. On the controls, and then you got like Olam. Put the fucking ball down, man. Don't try and put the dive as you're crossing the line. Put the fucking ball down, man. Yeah. Don't be standing on your feet vertical a meter in the in goal area and get 3 guys coming. And then your dumb shit is they had Hughes did pretty much nothing through the game, but he had that one kick that was actually okay for Sully. Fucking just dropped straight through the hands, dropped it. You also had a situation there where they had a 2-on-1 down towards the end on that same side of the field, and fucking who the fuck was it? Sevi. There was 2-on-1, and all he had to do was just draw the winger in and then pass to Verney to score the try, and he just sort of passed it straight away so that it was just
fucking hot potatoed it. Yeah,
just dumb fucking centers that can't.
And then in contrast, everything the Raiders did, they did at pace and they did with numbers. And that's when you start to get those chances. They look brilliant and they look like fucking, highlights. But But that try they scored where there were the 2 kicks straight after each other, you get those opportunities because you have players around the ball and you're doing things at pace.
Yep.
And when you're doing things faster than the opposition, the rugby league ball can be a fucking cruel mistress, but the more people you have around it, the more likely you are to get a fortunate bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. How wonderful was it, though, to see Captain Cuntox falling prey to, like, father time shit, like not getting to the play the ball quick enough, and
fucking great.
Like it's just great to see. And I mean, the flip side of that is, I mean, it looks, you know, more and more likely that superhuman Brandon Smith is going to be he's going to be the next guy. And you know, that Finucane try came off the back of he was in dummy half, you know, for that try. So
yeah. Ian on Facebook said, can play like us for half a game and still more than enough to handle Melbourne in Melbourne. This is the new normal. Ricky Stewart has the boys primed for a decade of dominance. Fucking stop sniffing paint.
Oh, God almighty.
Yeah.
Is that all I've got to say, or do you have any more?
Oh, no, this.
Oh.
Tim in the Facebook group said, apart from Raiders winning, the other great thing about this game was the constant stop milking comments from the ref towards Cam Smith and Melbourne. Also think this new one ref is really going to shine a light on the refs that perform and the refs that can't perform and maybe have only been in the spotlight because they were one of the boys. Ben on
Name names, you coward.
Ben on Facebook said, that game was worth the wait. Also, it looked like Big Nelson has been getting ideas from the Twitch stream.
Yeah, except he would have regathered and scored though for me.
David on Facebook said, looks like the Raiders' strategy of cycling through as many cunts with the surname Williams has finally paid off. And John said, I thought Bellyache was going to go full stepdad when Nelson kicked on the third.
Yeah.
I need to fucking seriously reevaluate my life.
What exactly did they expect Bellamy to do there?
But this is the thing. That's it.
What is full stepdad?
I don't know. But
is that like a sex thing? Is it an anger thing?
This is what I'm saying.
It's just so vague.
I don't have angry sex.
No, I mean, like, what, either or. Like,
I know.
Is it like a rage thing? Like you talking about Justin Pascoe? Is that what he meant?
I don't think that I've been ragey.
I mean, you're going to go kayaking with him?
I've got one that's a stand-up paddleboarder at the moment.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
I'm fucking getting triggered.
Yeah.
I'm having some PTSD. And at NatRaider1 on Twitter said, when was the last time Melbourne had more than 50% possession and lost 13 plus, asking for a friend?
Don't know. Look it up. I'm busy.
I would suggest never, but we get the point of your tweet. So let's just say never. Let's say it's the first time that happened.
I'm sure it's happened.
Go Raiders.
Yeah. The Panthers 14 lost to the Newcastle Knights 14 at Campbelltown. The try scorers for the Panthers are Kickow and Capewell. Crichton 2 of 2 conversions and a penalty goal. Matt Burton 0 from 5 field goals. We'll get to that. And the Knights 14 tries to Saifiti Jacob and a double to Bradman Best and Tex Hoy 1 of 3 conversions. Critically 1 of 3 conversions.
Yes.
So look, firstly, sit down, Knights.
Who's been booting fucking rat bags too much? Huh?
Firstly,
fucking Chips Ahoy there.
Sit down, Knights. Get comfortable and prepare to receive the length of my limp credit. To bounce back in the second half while going in without your first string spine and then having to shuffle the second string and losing, you know, most of that as well. It was, you know, that commitment and defence and just general spirit was great to see. O'Brien's clearly doing work up there because it's a fair cry from the unforgivable French capitulations of the post-origin period last year, where you went from, you know, certain top 4 to, you know, spoon contenders and certainly out of the 8 and out of the ability to get into the 8. Panthers, on the other hand, still mentally fragile. To concede right on halftime in pretty soft fashion was just what the Knights needed, and it really opened the door, and it was kind of the antidote to to that sort of team barely hanging in there and going in down at half time. The fact they scored like right on the break, I think it gave them the jolt in the arm that they kind of needed to produce that second half. What else have I got here? Fisher Harris, next level.
Fucking oath.
Toto was too for the
majority,
for all except for one one moment. It's just amazing. I mean, that guy is just getting better and better. Crichton is like he's a superstar in the making, I reckon.
Yep.
But I mean, he had that drop at the end as well that cost them probably one more chance for Burton to miss a field goal.
It's called a ratio maker.
The right side defense for the Panthers, though, was absolutely anal, and I mean, it should have cost them the game. Correct. But I mean, just like goal kicking and fucking hands like feet from Ed. I mean, like that. That pass might not have been the greatest in the world from Best at the end there, but Edric, mate,
yeah,
fucking how? I mean,
yeah,
don't overrun your.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't believe people. Like, the Knights fans were so exhausted.
Maybe he's
and they were so happy to pull that out of being a defeat.
Yeah,
that they just didn't slam him. I mean, that was fucking terrible.
I just fucking love how quickly Knights fans fall back into their little fucking box and remember where they fucking belong. You get a couple of things. Oh, we're fucking good. Oh, we're fucking good, and we'll fucking win football games. And then before you fucking know it, they're back in there with, oh, I'm so proud of the effort. I'm so proud. Oh, the old Knights would have let 30 fucking points in.
Look, I will, I'll let them have it for that game because they were without their hype engine before the game. Then they lose like their only good player.
So hang on,
like 5 minutes in, or whatever.
Let's look at that not from a fucking let's finger the Knights' prostate glands point of view. Let's look at it from fucking reality. The kid that's done fucking nothing except take up salary cap isn't playing.
Yes.
And the replacement is fighting for his fucking first grade life and puts in one of the best performances by a debutant ever seen in the history of rugby league. You have
that's perhaps a touch superlative.
It's not the Super Bowl; it's the Hyper Bowl.
That is. I think that goes beyond
they have
the hyperbole.
A team chock fucking full of state, national, and international representative players.
Yeah, I mean it's also chock full of like Newcastle players.
It doesn't matter. You know, at some stage, you can't fucking give yourself the constant underdog tag. Get out there and fucking own what you've got.
Well, this is the thing, though. I mean, that's why they're so annoying, though. Like the last year or two, they have been like, they've been acting like without that. They've been acting like they're elite, and not the underdog.
Oh no, I'm trying to say that they are, and that's a shithouse performance for an elite team to let a team of fucking kids, right, who haven't even had the opportunity to work under first grade stars or. The coaching of somebody like fucking James Maloney on the field. Kids who have been taught by other kids. Fucking kids having kids.
0 debutants in the side for this game.
Oh, what? So you're going to say like one game makes somebody a veteran? Fuck off.
I'm saying it doesn't. I'm saying it makes them less of a debutant than Chips Ahoy back there.
But what else? What other fucking representative talent do they have? Really? Fiji? Oh, powerhouse of a fucking country.
Still.
Really?
Still
Jared Haynes, fucking
counts.
captain coach.
Counts.
Jared Haynes, captain coach. Fucking clit biters are us. That's what they stamp on your passport when you go to Fiji. In all seriousness, though, there were some fucking great signs for Penrith. And my big worry going in there was how penalised they were going to be, and I thought they did a very good job for the most part of keeping themselves contained there. Appy makes such a fucking difference to that team just with his service and the speed of his play. They seem to go with him. Mansour, he's certainly having a fucking better year this year than he has for the last couple. with my usual caveat of saying the poor cunt had his fucking face caved in, so I get it.
He does some, just when you think he's like, holy fuck, he's back.
Yeah.
And then he'll just do something and you're just like, oh no, not yet. Not
and,
quite.
you know, again, there were some fucking great runs he had bringing us out of trouble. And those teams that are going to be there back end when people are tired are those ones that have outside backs that can come in and let the forwards have a rest, especially now that fatigue is such a dominant part of the game.
Yeah.
He was good in the air for the most part, which is where he struggled again. But then there's a couple of times where, you know, early on, there was an opportunity we'd created and we just had to go through the hands to him. And old man Saul would have fucking put his head down and just gone full fucking speed, and his little nuggety low center of gravity would have fucking got him over there. Now he's bundled out like 1.5 meters out and doesn't even get fucking close to the try line or even attempt to get his body down low. So you know that's a little bit disheartening for a team that doesn't have their fucking season-winning, dominant New South Wales Origin winning half there. I think they did well.
Ever.
Sorry?
He hasn't won a season. What are you fucking talking about?
Series, Origin series.
Oh, yeah, he didn't.
Who says Origin season?
He didn't win. You said their season winning, Origin winning. You said their season winning, Origin winning.
Well, it's Yuri of Cleary. He's won the season already because it's the Yuri of him.
It's actually not the Yuri.
He hasn't
of Cleary.
won the premiership. He's won the season.
Hasn't played a game yet in this restarted version of the season yet.
Oh, so you're saying this is a new season?
Not going to play next week.
No, he won't.
So I mean, if you can't even fucking bother to front up, then you can't say it's your Yuri.
Well,
you say it's fucking like it's his 9/10
you know
of a fucking something.
When fucking Burton looks down, and there's 2 marks in the sand, then Nathan will put his hand on his shoulder and say, "And this is where I was kicking field goals next to you."
Yeah,
as we were walking along the beach,
yeah, with Burton missing from 22 meters out, 23 meters out with a massive time to set.
Yes.
21 metres out with massive time to set, 42 metres out and 41 metres out.
Yeah, I hope that's not his fucking Ben Hunt drop moment that ruins him forever in clutch situations and turns him into the Milford of
Honestly,
Penrith.
You look at, Anthony Milford, he looks at that game and it's like that fucking Leonardo DiCaprio meme in Once Upon a Time where he's pointing at the TV. He's like, that's why I don't fucking call for the ball. That's the reason.
But looking at this, Penrith had a couple of opportunities where they just started to do dumb Panther shit, and by that I mean trying for miracle plays all the fucking time, going for match winners, and not settling themselves down and saying, okay, let's fucking put the boot on the throat, pardon the expression, and really put some pressure here, and they paid the price for it almost.
Where are we? May as well go to the tweets.
Nice. Chris in Facebook group said, "Who's the dumb cunt who decided bombing a 7-foot Edric Lee was a good idea?" Very true. Jack in Facebook said, "Do I have to put on the furries to collect the credit? Missed field goals are going to haunt that kid more than a session with Epstein." No, you get no fucking credit. You should have put us away. You had a group of kids that didn't know what they were doing, and you didn't even have the fucking minerals to do that. Fuck you. You're lucky I haven't put out a commemorative poster as to how shit you are. Solzy in the Facebook group said, "I hate to use a tired cliche, but that was a game of no halves. Hashtag boomtish." Fucking you've got a CTE from falling off a toilet, you idiot. Connor in the Facebook group said, "Burton imitating Cleary with midfield bombs all day, but couldn't kick a field goal to save his life. Unlike our Lord." With a fucking capital L. Hashtag Yuri of Cleary.
Ugh.
That's it.
Is that it?
There's
not too many tweets. It must have been the ones there that were critical of the.
There's heaps of Newcastle ones asking for credit.
Yeah.
There was Deformo 96 that jacked off about the performance by the Knights was incredible. Defence was the best I've seen. One of the most gutsiest displays I have seen in years. Nearly got there too.
Which
and
is
there you are again.
And that was the last point that I had down there. The Knights are going to take this as like an inspirational fucking epic, jaws from the jaws of defeat thing.
Yeah.
Penrith are going to be like, that's the fucking one that got away. That's
no,
we should.
Penrith are going to be we're a fucking group of kids, and we didn't have Nathan Cleary. But
honestly, if Nathan Cleary,
Knights fans,
who's never been the best half in a team he's played in his entire career, if he's the fucking answer to the question, then there's fucking trouble for these kids coming forward.
you'll eat those fucking words.
I don't
but
think I will.
DeFormo,
I've got an appetite, but I don't think I will.
Just celebrating fucking mediocrity again, as is your fucking place in life. There you go. You attempted to rise above your station, and the universe fucking smacked you down again. Remember your place.
Mighty Manly Seagulls 32 destroyed the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs 6 at Central Coast Stadium. The Manly side scored tries through a double to Tommy Turbo, a double to Hank Scorpio, Ruben Garrick, George Tafua, Curtis Sirinen also with tries. Garrick off night with the boot, 2 of 7. Defeated the Dogs with a fucking consolation try to Jake Avarillo and converted by Nick Meaney. Look, you want to talk about Fat Latrell, right? I saw a highlights package today, just scrolling by on the Twitter feed, with Sully last year in the finals in that game where he absolutely molested Gagai and whoever else against Souths. And you look at the guts on him in that game and compare and contrast to Sully this week.
Yeah.
And it's a gigantic fucking difference. This is the first week back after 2.5 months off with a fucking pandemic where this guy who was renowned for being lazy trainer, fall off the wagon super quickly.
Yep.
He can come back looking like a weapon and playing like one. Whereas this guy who's been paid thrice the money, probably more.
Yes.
Can't fucking, manage to muster the energy to get around the block a few times. And the way that Sully outsped and stepped Meaney it was sensational. I mean, he needs to sharpen up his passing game. Like when he's like, the second last guy in a movement. I mean, he passed that, that try, the first try for Turbo. Like that pass, like Turbo had to sort of stop and wait for the pass to come to him and then, run the 2 meters and score.
Yeah.
I mean, he needs to sharpen that shit up, like, the passing game. But otherwise, fuck, it's a bit dodgy and balloony with the passes. But I'll tell you, after the season, the first 2 games of the season, the attack hadn't really come together. Then you have this big break, and I think fucking Desi's a slow starter.
Though? Think of another sport in the world.
Yep.
Where you could get to the level of playing professionally.
Yeah.
With so much work needed on such a crucial part of the game.
Yeah.
As rugby league.
Yeah, and maybe it was just that particular situation that in that try, but I mean, it just looks slow and balloony. Maybe he was just like, well, fuck, Turbo's there, and there's literally no one around him. All I got to do is just get it right, and not throw it forward. And
that's it.
It could have been that, but
maybe
but the first couple of weeks of the season, the attack wasn't that great, and it wasn't that crisp. And I thought, okay, they've had a big break in between. Desi coach teams don't usually start that well, and they finish bang on, and so it might be. But fuck me, I don't know what they were doing in that break. Probably breaking distancing curfews and shit because the attack was so fucking slick and it was weeks ahead of where I dreamed. I mean, that play after, the tries like that, the second try that Turbo scored running off the shoulder of Jake was just fucking sexy. But the first try was great as well. But that play they did just after half time where they ran the Turbo special, but instead of just, finishing it up with Tommy just running straight through the center, he then spins out, out to the right and they end up down a touchline and they just sort of put a kick through and it just got cleaned up by the Dogs before they scored. It was fucking just tremendous. What else have we got here? Have you seen the Monica Bellucci movie Irreversible?
No.
Okay. Because up until Sunday night, that was the worst anal raping I'd ever seen in my life, but it paled in comparison to the brutal and repeated rape that Nick Meaney endured throughout this entire fucking game.
Have I not shown you E-fucked?
Yeah, but, you kind of expect it there, right? It's not unexpected. When you go to E-fucked, when you type it into your bar, you expect to see some shit.
I'm just saying, it seems that your standard for the worst you've ever seen is a little bit low.
I was just trying to give something commercial to people, so like a reference point for the listeners where they could, where they could go, okay, oh yes, that wasn't cool.
Look,
and they go, oh wow,
I know
okay.
Spotify are on you offering us Joe Rogan money to go exclusive.
I wish.
But please don't start watering down by using, falsified examples of shocking anal.
I still can't. I mean, like, believe me, I've clocked E-fucked, but I still can't like immediately bring anything to mind.
Oh, really?
That's like that. Nothing that scarred me.
Oh no, it's all hilarious.
Yeah. Tommy Turbo, 2 tries, 3 legit assists as opposed to Ponga assists.
Yep.
And best performance from a player this season, any tide in any game ever. And it may end the season that way. Such was the dominance. And it wasn't until this game that I realised, like, wow, like, you keep talking about, Tommy Turbo getting injured and stuff. Then I remember, like, it only just occurred to me this afternoon, the unsung hero development out of COVID is that we have to play our home games out of Central Coast Stadium, so there's no risk even of like fucking yourself up on Brookvale surface. so this season, the COVID season, it might be like an Omen season where it's like, well, yeah, fucking shit could happen.
That is very fucking cool.
Garrick obviously needs to work on his goal kicking. I mean, the thing is, mate, you can practice that shit and remain socially distant and stuff. He was an 80% kicker last year. I mean, just fucking sort it out, mate.
Yes.
And the defense, I mean, when we were talking about the preview of the game last week, I was sort of saying, well, they're probably going to defend, tenaciously, and they're going to scramble, amazingly well, and any negative effects that come from the 6 against them is they're going to, mop it up, or at least, mop up most of them and, not suffer too badly. And that's where I thought it would come from.
Yep.
It didn't. The attack was fucking sensational, but the defensive attitude, I mean, right down to that last play of the game where the Dogs were, certain to score in the corner on the left, but they had 3 guys there just to smash him over the touchline. So, very happy. Desius has them mentally where they need to be far earlier than I thought. So I don't know what they were fucking doing over the break, but I salute them for it.
I would salute you for fucking easing the fuck up. You beat the Bulldogs.
You didn't beat the Knights. And you've just talked about what a garbage fucking dumpster fire team they are. So fucking, that was 10 minutes ago. So settle the fuck down. The
Bulldogs and the Knights are not even in the fucking same universe of comparison.
What happens in a rugby league season is they get their expensive software from Canada, they punch the teams in there, and they fucking run them through, and they come out with a document at the end of the process they call the season draw. And you know what? You can only fucking play the team that's against you that week, and they did that, dispatched them with ruthless efficiency.
No, I'm not saying you should have played somebody else. I'm saying you shouldn't be so proud of it.
I'm saying I am super proud of it because this is just the fucking beginning.
That's a very Knights fan attitude
This
to have.
is the canary in the coal mine for the rest of the competition. These Dogs, we went easy on them. This is fucking going easy.
Okay.
When they actually have to turn up against the side, when they actually have to be switched on, then we're going to see the real fucking the real fucking team come out and kick the shit out of them.
Okay.
And it's going to happen to your side at some point, but I think it's going to be probably more like one of these dog ones where they just treat it as an opposed training session because it's not going to be that as difficult as playing like, your Roosters and your Raiders.
Okay.
And notice I didn't say the Eels because fuck them too.
Okay. Fair enough.
Doggies have no fucking attacking options, though.
No, they don't. They have fucking nothing.
I mean, Kieran Foran, based on what we saw from him last year, I think he will probably spark something in them. But the biggest problem offensively I see with the Doggies at the moment is that Corey Harawira and Naira fucked the school kid. Yeah. That's the biggest problem in their defense.
Yeah, 100%.
In their attack, because that was always good for, it was like the kick our move of the Dogs.
Yep.
And they've just totally moved that out there, and they don't actually have another thing to replace it with.
That is correct. That is 100% correct.
Unlucky pub side.
Stuart Marler on the Facebook group said, shithouse defence in the second half, Manly, and it was. You let the Dogs score.
a lucky bounce try, consolation try. Fucking hello.
We've just agreed. You have enough bodies around. You don't need luck. Ryan in the Facebook group said, either Manly are the most amazing team in the comp and capable of goat-seeing any other team.
Correct.
Or the Doggies are on the same level of cuck as the Broncos.
Well, as the little girl said when confronted with a decision of what sort of tacos to have for dinner that night, she said, ¿Por qué no los dos? Why not both, things being true?
Ian in Facebook said, the Bulldogs like Souths in the 90s. The sooner we kick them and their insulting version of sponsorless rugby league out of the comp, the better.
I can back that. I mean, you need to even the competition up. You don't want to have a bye. So fuck it, kick Souths and the Dogs out.
Daniel in Facebook said, the Tard Bros looked great. Not physically, of course, but they played well. I did have a fucking hilarious moment. My boy has taken to watching footy.
Okay, that's good.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Has always been okay with it being on.
Yeah.
But had the attention span of a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and sort of flitted in and out, or got the shits, or wanted to play halfway through, or whatever it was. Whereas now he gets his little pile of footy cards.
Oh, he's trying to find the players.
He's trying to find the players on the screen. And he found Tard Bros. And he's pulled it, and he's just started killing himself laughing. And he's turned it around and gone, look at this guy's face. And he's pulled the fucking potato face. And that, like, okay, when he sees the Tigers, like if I ask him who's playing now, he will say Tigers in decline. Like he doesn't know it's just the Tigers.
So he's been well coached, is what you're saying.
Like he says dirty Broncos.
Yeah.
But this is without a fucking inch of coaching that he's picked up fucking effort face naturally. I was a very proud father. It was wonderful.
I'm going to beat that little cunt next time I see him.
Aussie Jag on Twitter. Fucking poor old Aussie Jag. Here's a motherfucker who would travel to other hemispheres to support a sporting team that he loves.
As staunch as they come.
Fucking staunch as they come.
Like the anti-Chapo, really.
Usually, when you are watching your team get thumped, you generally believe there may be some hope for your team moving forward. Unfortunately, not for my team. Fuck, dude, my heart breaks for you. At Swiss_cowboy_78, Carsten on Twitter said, can we move the Bulldogs to Perth now? Oh, I meant Perth in Scotland. There you go. I didn't know there was a fucking Perth in Scotland. And by David in Facebook, a fairly fucking serious review of the Dogs. Fuck, we're so frustrating to watch. I was so optimistic heading into the season, and then CHN and Ockenbaugh fuck everything up. CHN with that all-stars form instead of Dean Britt on the left edge could have scored once or twice in that first half. Ockenbaugh taking some big carries when our forwards getting tired would be huge too. To be fair, Crichton did hard work tonight. We're really lacking a modern fullback. DWZ can still do what he does best on the wing. Huge carries to get the set started, and he doesn't have to worry about ball playing on the wing. He's a great finisher. Our young halves are still showing glimpses, but Lewis isn't a first-grade, first-choice half. Cogger hasn't played in 8 months, so of course he was rusty. Until Foz comes back, I can't see us scoring more than 2 tries a game. Add in Smith getting injured and being useless as a centre, Tolman taking stupid settlers, and Napa giving away stupid penalties, and we're in for a long 17 rounds. Hey, that's fucking a pretty good sum up.
It is, and there's some Doggies fans that I like and feel bad for.
And others that can suck my dick from the back.
Yep, but Dave is one of the ones where I think, yep, look, you're not a cunt, essentially. And so, you deserve better. But not against my team. I hope you win this week coming up. And the one after that.
That's it.
But this week you had to fucking go. Now, overall with the round, we had the 6 again thing come in, the single referee. Thoughts about that? The single referee thing, I think it worked. It worked fine. But I'll tell you what, the touchies need to be more on the ball in terms of offside players, because I don't think there was a single tackle played in the entire weekend without players offside
Yeah.
on either side. And there were some games where the players were fucking camped for the entire game without punishment.
Yeah.
And so that kind of needs to be sorted out a little bit. But if we're going to use any game as like the benchmark for the success of if the six again it was designed to compensate for the lack of a ruck referee and to rub out the wrestle by giving the other referee some more discretion and all that sort of thing.
Yep.
I mean, the clear benchmark is that. I mean, there's definitely a positive effect on the wrestle. You look at the Raiders versus Storm game. And
Yes.
the six again. Obviously, there's the positive effect from the wrestle. The Storm were absolutely neutralised at that and didn't have any way to alternate like the way that the Roosters did. Crowd noise is another one I saw a lot of things about. I fucking love it. I mean, like the games that I listened with the commentary, it was probably 3 or 4 of the 8 games, and I'm totally cool with it. I mean, and then we're privy to some of the process that in terms of how the crowd noise is was administered on the field, and the NRL were presented with a more dynamic and realistic proposal where they could actually have more situational, like a real high level of situational crowd noise, like on, for attack building and, try scoring and that sort of thing. But the NRL declined to pursue that option based on price, which is fine. I mean, I get it. They got, they're under the pump at the moment, particularly on cutting down their costs. So they had to do that. But what they have, I thought was fine. I mean, I'm probably a minority, but I mean, like based on what I've seen on Twitter, but it just sounds like a game to me, and like it just fills the pockets of dead air when the commentators aren't speaking, and it's fine. And not only that, I mean, in the mailbag, coming up, there's some more about that as well.
Yes.
Anything else you want? Any thoughts you want to add about the?
No, I'm all for the rule changes. Like I've been staunch on the record as saying that if there's any season to try things or change things, this is it.
Yeah, and like let's be clear, like the rugby league was not broken,
Not at all.
at all.
No.
And so this is not fixed anything, and you need to be really really cognizant of anything that comes from Channel 9 and Channel 9 talking heads in terms of the effect that these rule changes have had, because they're definitely pushing a narrative.
It meant that there was a certain style of football that was played because it was effective.
Yep.
And what this is going to do is force people to find new styles or play different ways.
Yep.
And we've seen a number of different ways that people did that over the weekend to various degrees of success.
And really, the only team that you would have expected more from, that we didn't get more from, was probably the Storm.
Yeah.
They were the only surprise package in terms of not adapting to the new system. But otherwise, I mean, the well-drilled sides and the sides you expected to win won.
Yes.
So.
Or, didn't lose.
Yeah.
Undefeated.
The undefeated Knights. What a terrible fucking thought. I assume that's what you're referring to.
Why would you assume that?
Because...
Jeez, are you a fucking Channel 9 employee? Because you're that good at reading the room.
Oh, well, at the end of the day, I mean, the Channel 9 guys, maybe I am a Channel 9 employee.
Maybe
because,
you are.
Because I can read the room perfectly and say the exact opposite things that the other people in the room want to hear. So yeah, maybe you're right.
Correct.
Fucking pay me, Hugh. Okay, quickly, let's get through the previews this week. Thursday night, Broncos at Suncorp. Jesse Arthurs comes into the side for the suspended Katoni Staggs for the coat hanger that I mentioned earlier. Herbie Farnsworth comes in on the wing. Ethan Bullimore starts for Alex Glenn, who has a leg laceration. And then we got a couple of...
that was a fucking rough one to lose him.
New and Kennedy come up onto the bench. The Roosters... Orbison and SST are listed in the reserves and could return, but otherwise the starting 17 is unchanged. Look, it's not a home game for the Broncos. This home venue business. I mean, apart from the fact that the Roosters have to take a flight, it's not that onerous. It's not like it. It's not like it was.
No, that's it.
So, look, I think the Roosters they rolled nicely. The Broncos, the final scoreline does lose a little bit of the battle the first half was, but I still, you've got to, in a 2-horse race, you've got to go to the Roosters.
Correct.
Okay, the pub slot game is the Panthers taking on the Warriors at Campbelltown. Changes for the Panthers is just Liam Martin coming in for Burns on the bench. 17 otherwise unchanged. The Warriors changes. They got Hiku's out with a rib injury. He's replaced with Carl Lawton. Right in the pass, he was suspended. So he's been replaced by new signing Pawasa Famasili and Josh Curran to the bench. You would have to assume that the Panthers can bounce back from this, and perhaps if they can flex with the same opening 20, 30 minutes that they did against the Knights,
that's it.
Then perhaps the lesson they draw from last week is that don't relinquish that, but the Warriors, their style of play that the Warriors have traditionally been renowned for, when they don't drop the ball, it's remarkably suited to this new era, and they have players that can make shit happen.
Yep.
But we shall see.
I'm going to be curious to see how much of last week was like a giant fucking build-up for the Warriors.
Wade Egan revenge game too.
Yeah, true. But just to see how much of it was, we had our backs to the wall and, we're away from our families. We've done this. We've been preparing for this. We're going to go out and no one thinks we can win. And they went out and won.
Yep.
I'm not sure.
I think that vibe can stay with them for a good couple of weeks. But whether that's enough, that's the question.
That's it. Penrith need points.
I'm going to give Penrith the benefit of the doubt this time.
Yes.
And go with them.
That's it.
But if they were to lose to the Warriors, then I'd be saying things. The Storm take on the Rabbitohs at the Korean Housewife. Okay, so here's a side that didn't live up to expectations last week versus a team that hasn't lived up to expectations all year. Big Nelson's suspended, so Welch moves to prop there. Riley Jacks comes in onto the bench, which does give them, I guess, another option, creative-wise. The Rabbitohs, Mitchell at fullback still. Patrick Margot comes on to replace Tom Amoni on the bench, not the interchange.
I think
you would have to assume the Storm get reamed, and adapt far quicker than the Rabbits.
Yep.
And without, once again, we still have the suspension of Old Sparta, which is going to leave Reynolds exposed again. And the Storm defensively are a team that can shut down a team that has a singular half and not a lot of creativity going on in there at the moment. So, look, I'm going to favour the Storm at this stage, and it's kind of just on what I assume is going to be happening from them at a coaching level and what I see from the Rabbitohs there at a coaching level, which is Latrell Mitchell in the one. And I honestly feel like I'm going to struggle to respect the Rabbitohs in any contest until they bite the bullet there.
Yeah, no, I can't go past the Storm either.
Parramatta Eels versus the mighty Manly Sea Eagles at Wankbest. No changes to the Eels squad. No changes to the Manly squad. I'm feeling actually fairly confident in this game. This is a very big game in the scheme of the season, very early on in the season. So if nothing else, it's just a great idea to sort of benchmark both teams and see where they are. And there's going to be other games like that in the season as well, like when they're playing, when both sides are playing like the Raiders and things like that. So it's going to be very interesting, especially under this new. It was always going to be a big game, but under this new system, it's going to be very interesting to see. I think Manly are just better across the entire lineups. I mean, like Moses is playing. He's playing great and seems to have assumed like a much higher level of responsibility and growing maturity and things like that. And like Brown's a good second, but at the same time, like Dylan Walker played fucking. He's doing great stuff as well over on the left hand side for Manly. And he's a great second. And Cherry Evans, under this system, he just felt like he had all the fucking time in the world to do whatever he wanted the other night.
Yeah.
So forward, I think we've got. I mean, in terms of forwards, I think we've got them there as well, and bench, which is important. So like I'm backing Manly. Obviously, I'm biased, and Turbo, if he puts in a performance like he did last week, I mean, he fucking got it all over Gutherson in every possible way.
Yeah, he certainly does.
So Manly, and it's going to be a close one.
I don't think it will be close at all. I think Parramatta will come out and absolutely fucking rape Manly.
Yes, that ain't going to happen. Because you know what the one big advantage Parramatta did have?
What's that?
Sold out Bankwest crowd. Take that away.
Yeah.
Take that away. And they are, even you look at them last year, it was their year last year.
Yeah.
Away from home, fucking forget about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Hopeless.
Well, the other thing is, in every game, just statistically,
yeah.
And again, you don't go into these things wanting to be right all the time, but if you play to the numbers, you'll be right more often than you're wrong.
Sure.
So I go into every Manly game thinking that Effort Face is going to absolutely fucking biscuit himself and be out for the rest of the season. So I'll keep predicting it and I'll be right eventually. And this is the game where he fucking biscuits himself and puts himself out for 8 weeks.
Unfortunately not. So Manly win huge. Take a picture, screen capture that, record it. Manly win huge. Cowboys take on the Sharks up at the bedpan in North Queensland, as it has been dubbed. Jason Taumalolo is not there. Suffering bruising of the knee bone. I believe it's a 1 to 2 week proposition. Maguire moves to lock. The murderous Frank Molo starts at prop. And Gilbert joins the bench along with Gavin Cooper, who's returning at the expense of Shane Wright. The Sharks, Chad Townsend out with a hamstring injury. Hamstring injury in air quotes. Young Matt Moylan replaces him in the 6. Magoulias is pushed to the reserves. I always thought Magoulias was like a better option than Jack Williams, but for some reason they fucking like Jack Williams despite all evidence that they see on the field. And Aaron Woods maintains his position as well.
Jesus Christ.
Fucking Cowboys to win.
And, yeah, how much?
Yep.
Fuck.
The Raiders take on the Knights at Campbelltown. Simonson replaces Rapiner in the starting side on the wing. Rapiner drops to the bench. Oldfield out to the reserves. The Knights, Ponga returns. So Tex Hoy is benched. McCulloch is named as hooker with the injury to Connor Watson. SESE will start at lock. Glasby on the bench. Randolph the reserves. Canberra by how many? This is one of these games where the Knights are going to talk themselves up as this is the type of game that this is the type of team they're going to have to play in the, if they're going to be serious about the competition in 2000.
Get ready to celebrate more fucking mediocrity, Knights fans.
I think get ready to celebrate a fucking beatdown.
Yes.
I think they're getting. I don't think it'll be close. It'll be like similar to last week.
No,
for the Raiders. Like it'll be, and there will be no second half comeback.
I can't even give you Knights fans the credit of going to games when your team's shit.
Why not? They did do that.
Not anymore. They're not. The team's still shit. No one's going to games.
Yeah, but come on now.
Can't give them credit.
All right.
I will not give undue credit.
All right. Titans versus the Tigers at Suncorp Stadium. The Titans, and this is the thing that really worries me about Holbrook because he's just chucking chunks of the team out and every game.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to, at some point, dude, I know they're shit and I know they're losing, but at some point you're just going to have to withstand 2 consecutive weeks of it to try and figure out who's proper shit and who wouldn't be as shit if they had someone else beside them.
Yep.
So, Tyrone Roberts is named at fullback.
Wasn't he named at fullback last week?
Yeah.
And then had to...
And missed out entirely. Yeah. Aaron Clark starts at hooker. So they're starting a woman, I believe, at hooker. So that's interesting. And a new bench of
Fuck, what does Pizza's mum think about this one?
And what we got here? Boyd, Jolliffe, Cartwright, and young Tonomapea comes in. That young Tonomapea, how they doing like a train and fucking trial thing, whatever.
Yeah.
You fucking come from the Storm. He was a good player at the Storm. You're the Gold Coast fucking Titans.
Yeah.
Make him your captain and sign him to a 5-year deal, you shitheads. Pete's, Wallace, Whitbread, and Pearson are all out. Pete's definitely deserves the axe after that performance.
Fucking hooky hook.
Less Twitter, mate, and more on the training.
Yeah.
The Tigers, unchanged from their winning lineup last round. Look, I mean, we're being serious here. The Tigers by how many?
Yeah.
30?
Oh.
22.
You know what? I don't think that the defense can be worse than what they faced last week.
Yeah, the thing is about the Tigers, this traditionally is these are the types of games that the West Tigers lose to finish 9th.
Oh, no, this isn't a final round where all they need to do is not lose by 40.
But they have to accumulate these losses that should have been wins through the season to put them in that tenuous position. Yeah. But this, I think the Tigers are going to win by.
And what's the other thing? If the Titans lose this one, they will have gone a full calendar year
without a win. Yeah, crazy. And speaking of shit teams, the Dragons take on the Dogs. This is going to be a real spoon-a-palooza. And just to commemorate the old Monday Night Football shit fest, this one's actually on Monday afternoon. The Dragons.
Is it a long weekend up here? Please don't, because I would like to have fucking work commitments that stop me from watching.
I don't think we do. I don't think we do have it, do we? I don't think it is. Okay, so the Doggies, Kieran Foran returns at the expense of Jack Cogger. That's pretty much it for the lineup. The Dragons, Corey Norman goes to fullback. Matt Duffy gone. Well, he's in the 21, but he's out of the 17. Adam Clune comes into the halves. And I know very little of Adam Clune, but I do know that Dragons fans are extremely high on him. So whether that's like they're just reaching for whoever's left because Norman and Hunt are shit, or if he's actually legit good.
When you get to the point that the Dragons fans are, you start looking at fucking lower grades or other comps, and you forget that people that are fucking superstars
with these love heart emoji eyes, just like fantasizing.
Well, that's it. No one comes into first grade and has the same level of impact they do in lower grades. You start to forget that when you're that shit.
Yep. Okay, so Josh Kerr comes in at the expense of Corbin Sims. Who else have we got here? Where's Corbin Sims? Is he gone too? Merrin and Luke are called up on the bench, and Fui Morano is out. Trent Merrin was absolutely heroic in the Anzac Day streamed game on Rugby League Live 4 with a chip and chase for a try, and I believe he laid on the winning try as well to win them the game against the Roosters. I mean, it was a great performance, and based on that, look, honestly, the Bulldogs, it remains to be seen how many points they have in them with Kieran Foran. Yeah. I think they're going to have more than they did, provided he doesn't bust his hamstring.
I was going to say, I don't think a situation where Foran needs to be the inspirator and the executor of those fucking points-inducing plays is conducive to a man with as busted a body as he has. I think he needs a team that can get 80% of the way there themselves, and then he can just add the finishing touches where needed.
Yep.
He's not getting that with the Bulldogs. So I don't think he makes that much of a difference, as much as it pains me to say.
My confident prediction for this game is this. If the Dragons lose, they're going to sack Mary before the next round.
Yep.
That's my fearless prediction. So, yeah. Just going through my tips to make sure I said the same things. I tipped Roosters, Panthers, Storm, Manly, Cowboys, Raiders, Tigers, and Dragons. Okay, mailbag. Fuck, he's got a long mailbag too. You bitches are getting your money's worth this week. Nathan said, was the game great again, or is it a media beat up and now the product is back and they aren't negotiating the price down? Are they simply talking it up again? I thought some games were quicker, Broncos and Eels. Others didn't have a notable change, Panthers, Knights. Interesting to know, watching without commentary, your take. Hopefully we've answered that for you, but whatever the media say, particularly Fairfax and Nine,
Yeah.
I'm not fucking interested because, I mean, even seeing things with the post-match shows and things like that where they started pushing these narratives from Friday night football onward.
Yeah.
Or from Thursday night onward. It was fucking, it's just so transparent.
Again, we've had this before. Think back to when they had the penalty, as in we want you to adjudicate and penalise players for infringements.
Yep.
And there was this outcry of, the game's different, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that.
Yep.
We'll see what happens. I don't think that it's so much a conscious thing of them, okay, we've talked them down, now we can talk it up again. I think it's more around they need to quite obviously show carrot and the stick consequences.
Yep.
And because Volandis has done right by them, or so what they perceive as right by them, they will give him the carrot in praising and talking up things that he's done. It's not really different if you look at political parties.
Yeah.
Look at the media when there is a political situation that suits them.
Yep.
All of a sudden it's reported one way, and then when a similar thing happens and it doesn't suit them, they can change their reporting and their stance on it. So I think that's all this is.
Okay, Chris said, piped crowd noise sucks. I listened to a couple of games on ABC Grandstand. Way better hearing the hits and communication between players. Channel 9 clearly have a bias to keep it in place, getting every paid talking head on the network to support it. Also, the unnecessary PA announcements and music to entertain the, in quote, crowds. It's such an obvious fake illusion they're creating for TV. Just let it be what it is. Footy in the age of a pandemic. But Aaron replied that the announcements, the music, and even the flames were all actually requested by the players themselves. They said that round 2 was too quiet and they wanted some, in quote, normal noise. So there you go.
It is interesting.
Listening on ABC Grandstand too is a different sound. Like on listening on the radio, it never sounds, even in the real games with real live crowds. It doesn't sound great. It's weird. Yeah. Like
that's it, and it's not surprising that it was requested by the players.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, that would be a subconscious thing for them.
Yep.
So,
and I mean, that was something we sort of were speculating about.
Yep.
How players would and teams would perform, and there'd be certain players that would get up for games just because they're playing football and it's their job. But then there's other players who kind of need that feeling of the crowd. Ross says, do you think we'll ever see the NRL played in NFL-style helmets and padding? Probably not in my lifetime, but eventually the HSC and insurance dudes will impose more and more risk mitigation on the clubs. Most cricket associations now have made it compulsory to bat in or field close in a helmet, as the insurance companies are refusing to cover them within a reasonable cost otherwise.
Yep.
No, for helmets, I don't think so, because the thing is, with these guys and the insurance guys, to impose that on the game, they will first have to have scientific evidence that helmets prevent whatever it is they say it prevents. And if they're talking about CTE, we've mentioned this on the show before, helmets do not do a fucking thing about CTE, because while they protect from lacerations and bruising, and this goes for boxing as well and other sports like that, it doesn't stop your brain bouncing around inside your fucking skull like a pinball when you get rocked. So they're 100% useless for that, and that's the only reason I could probably see people, trying to bring them in, because there's not this epidemic of blood bins and players getting busted open and things like that that require that would require headgear. So I don't think so. Cricket though, I understand that. I mean, cricket, bowlers are bowling the ball at over 100 kilometers an hour, pace bowlers, and that energy then generated off the face of a bat is probably, adding a magnitude to that. So I can understand if you're fielding in close, or if you're batting against, like the new ball, pace, bounces coming at you.
That's it.
And like we saw with Phillip Hughes and everything, like a small object traveling at a massive speed that's hitting a single targeted area, can absolutely fucking, fracture, skulls and hit people in certain situations, causing serious injury.
The
and
other
death.
thing is, there's been some research done on the question of football helmets.
Yep.
And it turns out the data suggests that people that wear helmets are more likely to not go to the same lengths to protect their head.
Yeah.
And this was done with American football.
Yeah, and I mean, American football had to change rules because people were actually, spearing with their
They were
their
leading
helmets.
with their head. Yeah. So when you have something on there that prevents the acute injuries, the immediate ones that cause pain that you are instantly aware of, and you have claret dripping down you, that still don't protect against the long-term ones like CTE, people don't tend to take that into consideration when they're playing. So I don't think so.
Yeah. James, the birthday boy, said, I know it's low-hanging bat, but can we just for this season call them the Corona Sharks until this all blows over? Hey, look, it's your birthday. I'm happy for that. Crispy said, can the second ref come back, but only for forward passes from dummy half? Look, I think offside from the 10 is the biggest thing that I noticed. I don't think forward passes from dummy half is a huge thing. I mean, that's more of a touchy issue as well. Like, there's plenty of people on the field to see that.
I think
shit.
that's what he's saying. That they're just not looking for it. I would still love.
Didn't. But did you notice? I didn't notice. I didn't notice like a crazy more
than usual. I did. Again, sorry, I should say what appeared to be more than usual from the angle on the television that I had. They may not have been forward.
Yep.
But just those ones that looked forward from the TV.
Yep.
I'm still a massive fucking advocate. If you've got the overhead cameras there,
yeah,
it's not fucking hard to adjudicate dummy half. It's a lot easier to adjudicate dummy half than it is players on the run, put it that way.
Yeah, and they got some of those spot on.
Yep.
Those ones like the Sivo, that Sivo no try.
Yeah.
Isaac says, is Monday night's game losing coach loses job? Game losing coach loses job. I don't know if Dean Pay's going to lose his job right now. I feel like there's like an understanding at the club there that they're rebuilding and but they need to show something.
Yeah.
Chris said it was nice to see the Knights put up. Oh, you would use that actually. You grabbed that out of the mailbag and used that in the actual game tweets, didn't you? I think it was nice to see the Knights put up as much fight on the weekend as their fans do on social media. There's some angry face reacts to that one. Oh, see, Dan said, is there really a chance that the NRL will overturn Flanagan's ban so he can take over from Mary? Jesus wept. That bloke has no business working in the game, let alone as a head coach. Besides, there's no drug in the world that would make Hunt or Norman better players. Look, I heard they may reduce it. But I remember reading it as a headline and I don't know what the actual...
Absolute cuck move.
Yeah. Rick said, should the laws of the universe be tested by Penrith having more than one play? #Yuri of Cleary is most dreary. I guess that's a bomb to Edric. I mean, I don't know. Aaron says, with all the talk of the grand final possibly moving to a 3 p.m. kickoff, people have missed the most important point, how this will affect the grand final meetup. That will only leave about 2 hours of drinking from when the pub opens until the pre-match entertainment starts. Gladys will need to get the pubs to open earlier. For those of us who usually start at 10 a.m., we'll have to find an early opener at 7 a.m.
Oh, fucking boo-hoot. Typical Tigers whinging cunt. Take matters into your own hand.
Preload at breakfast.
Yeah.
There's plenty of hours in the day. You just got to get up earlier.
Like, if you're not fucking staunch enough to have Weet-Bix and Jägermeister...
Weed Bix.
Then I don't want it. That's a TikTok reference for anyone that doesn't.
Ryan said, will it #it's turbo time take over #century of DCE as the hot new trending hashtag? Or will it be resigned to the dustbin of history along with #Yuri of Cleary and #thinking men's team? No, look, honestly, that hashtag will never take off.
No, because it's fucking shit. And
#century of DCE is the one. And but you could go. You could also jazz that up and go century of Tommy T if you wanted to.
This thing though. It's pronounced century, and for your hashtags to work, you have to say century, and that's fucking so Aussie hip hop.
Century of DCE.
No,
just said it properly.
You just say century It's century.
Century of DCE. I said it properly.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's amazing, and it's the hot new trending hashtag.
No, it's not.
So it actually is.
No.
See how this works? You could say that two people use the year of Cleary, the inventor and the primary beneficiary.
No, I get it. That is the proper hashtag for him. Because it's a technically correct, yet ear-raping use of the English language. Just like that socially awkward fucktard whenever he opens his mouth. Excellent. No, I agree now.
It's a century of DCE. Excellent.
Exactly.
Excellent.
See how you even spoke a bit faster then? Because you're almost naturally inclined to get so much useless shit out of your mouth.
For starters,
you need to vocally throw a wall at people.
For starters, I'm sick of listening to you. And secondly, I saw that it was like over 2.5 hours on the fucking timer of this episode.
Jesus
and I'm like, motherfucker, it's after midnight and we've still got to do the members episode.
Okay, that's it. See you next week.
So, motherfucker, stop fucking, stop speaking, stop resisting, and just let this fucking, let the century of DCE fucking take you balls deep. And just enjoy the fucking ride. That's full time for episode 353. Thanks for listening, everyone. As always, you can interact with us on Twitter, so follow at TWI League, the Facebook community, hashtag TWIL Nation. Get in there. It's on facebook.com/groups/TWIL Nation. We're also on facebook.com/This Week in League. That's where you'll find episode drops and things of that nature. Make sure you hit the like button and share the shit as we put it up. Spread the word. And if you'd like to support the show, make sure you drop us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you want to go the extra mile, our digital memberships are still available and can be picked up anytime for only $3.99 a month. That is it. You got yourselves a long-ass episode. Apologies to those who want a shorter episode. You're welcome to people who like the old 3-hour length episodes. But that's it. That's all. That's literally all we got time for. In fact, we probably gave you an extra half an hour from what we had time, maybe even an hour from what we had time for. But
truly is the eerie of Cleary.
This episode was the century of fucking DCE. We've been doing yeary long episodes, and we had busted out the century today. So don't get used to it. See you next week.